What's up, guys? My name's Dave.
And I'm Tommy.
And welcome back to Segue City. I like that. That was cool.
Yeah, I'm in a good mood today.
Yeah, you seem in a good mood today. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And you know what? I will ask why you're in a good mood today. But first off, the first thing we have to do is we have to answer our versions of the Segue segment, which we left to you guys at the end of last week's episode. So, for anyone who missed last week, and also for people who didn't, we're changing it up a little bit, so I'm going to explain to you exactly what's going down. And basically what it is just to recap a little bit, Tommy has this excellent skill of being able to segue between any two people, or any two movies, TV shows, what have you, and in the least amount of steps can connect them. So it's kind of like the 6 degrees of separation. So if you put
might be my only skill.
Well, if you're going to have a skill, at least you do it well. Like, if you're going to do it right. So... But, yeah, so basically, just as an example, you got to link two people together. So you could be, as your great one last time, Vinnie Jones to Audrey Hepburn, and linking between movies and actors and what they've been in, which is similar. You've got to try and link to them as quickly as you possibly can. But you'll see what we're talking about in a second. Basically, what I was going to say is this week, we're going to from now on, we're going to change it, make it a little bit different. What we're going to do is we're going to propose to you two people you need to get through. Like last week, you had to get between Chris Evans and Jared Leto. So what we're going to do is we're going to answer that question ourselves, and with the fewest amount of steps, the maximum being 6 in between the two people, me and Tommy are going to have a competition to see who can do it in the least amount of steps, and you guys will also be in on that competition. So we're going to go through and we're going to answer your one from last week. So Tommy, how have you linked Chris Evans and Jared Leto together?
Okay, so Chris Evans was in Avengers, as you know.
Yes.
With Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
Who was in The Incredible Hulk, in the post-credit scene he was, with Edward Norton, who was in Fight Club with Jared Leto.
That is exactly how I was going to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to say this every week now. with a minor exception.
Oh.
I went, Chris Evans
is
going to be in Captain America Civil War.
Okay.
Which has William Hurt, who was in The Incredible Hulk, had Edward Norton, was in Fight Club with Jared Leto. So it's the same thing, just in a different kind of route.
Yeah.
So that's the same amount of steps. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps each. Obviously not including Chris Evans and Jared Leto.
So it is a tie unless anyone in the comments from last week did it in less. So who have we got?
So I think our favourite one was from Yusuf Yusir, who started off with Chris Evans and went to the Avengers, then to Robert Downey Jr., who was in Iron Man, which had Jon Favreau and was also directed by Jon Favreau, if I'm correct in thinking. Who was in Daredevil, which starred Ben Affleck, who is going to be in Suicide Squad with Jared Leto. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very close, but no cigar. But yeah, so that's cool. That's a nice way to start this off, a good old tie.
Yeah.
And also,
that's the way that game works anyway. So now you guys kind of know, if you didn't hear us last week or you didn't watch last week's episode, now you know, and now you can play along this week for next week's episode.
Yes, and for next week's one, what we want you guys to answer, and the same thing we are also going to answer, is you have to try and get between, and I always mess his name up, Matthew McConaughey. Was that correct? Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's not that difficult a name.
I don't know why
you mess it up so much.
I've never had an issue with this before, but it was last week, was it? When I was like, Matthew McConaughey. Yeah. But yeah, so you have to try and get between Matthew McConaughey and Martin Freeman. So they're the two you got to try and link between, and obviously next week.
That's a little tease for what we might be talking about this episode, because we like to keep it relevant, keep it within, the contents of the podcast. So there's a little hint that we may be talking about Martin Freeman and Matthew McConaughey later today.
Yeah, just in the space of like an hour and a half, 2 hours, that we are going to be very slowly segueing between all of those guys. But yeah, so that's the ones you got to do for next week, and we will also be answering those same people at the start of next week's podcast. But to start this bad boy off, what have you been up to, Tommy, this week? Why are you so happy? You seem really chipper this week.
I don't know. I'm just kind of in a good mood. I think it's because there's more than one Star Wars news this week. That's probably what it is, It's just that we've got more than one topic of Star Wars to talk about. And coming off of a slow news week like we did in last episode, even though last episode was 2 weeks, I'm just excited that there's a fair little bit to talk about this week. So I'm looking forward to jumping into that.
Yeah, same. Last couple of weeks there hasn't really been much, and then obviously lo and behold, one week everything gets dropped in the same amount of time, so we've got plenty of stuff to talk about. But yeah. So myself, I finally caught up with New Avengers and Avengers. It happened.
Hey.
It's taken months and months, but yeah, I'm up to date as I'm gonna get. I'm not up to date with what's current, but I think I got up to. After Original Sin, it's like just when it starts saying like 8 months left, 7 months left, I'm up to that point. I'm at time runs out, so I'm up to date as I'm gonna be right now. So that's made me happy. So plus I also just went Amsterdam, so how can that never be fun as well?
I really haven't taken advantage of my Marvel Unlimited thing enough. I need to do like, once I'm settled with work and all the other jobs I give myself, I'll be able to sit there and just read some stuff. I'm looking forward to just getting back into the world of comics, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
And that's the thing, is like I was literally just about to say, oh yeah, you got to make sure, give yourself enough time, because once you start, you're gonna get addicted. But at the same time, you don't need to, because like I was on the way to work today, and I was just reading some on the train on my phone. So like you can literally just have 20 minutes spare and be like, meh, I'll read one. Like,
Yeah.
it works. It's like that's cool. So you can either have a whole day or just 5 minutes. It's either way.
The only problem with that is the way, because obviously you guys might know by now, I'm a pretty big film fan. So I'll be watching all like the new films in like, it's kind of like seasons the way it works. So around September to December sort of time, that's when you get all like the douchey artsy what's called Oscar bait films, where they're films being released specifically to win Oscars.
Yeah.
So then I'll be watching all these like slow burning dramas, real strong message films, which I absolutely adore and I really really do just love. But then we get to like the January, February sort of time, where it's just like all the film studios don't really care about or don't think will make much money. They sort of come out then.
Yeah.
And then March to sort of May is when we get like the what's starting. It's a new trend really. It's only started the last few years, but it's what's called like the summer preview month, where we start getting the first big films. And then once you get to like June, July, August, even like early September, that's when you get the big summer blockbusters. So now that we're just heading into that, it's been cinema mad for me. So like the last major sort of summer preview film was probably Mad Max, but now the big summer films are starting. I just saw Tomorrowland in this last week, so I'm looking forward to jumping on more of these. I think Jurassic World's the next big one.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, Tomorrow World actually, the reviews weren't great for it, and I understand why. The last act of that film was pretty weak, but the first two were strong, and it's a beautiful film. It's definitely worth checking out. I'd probably say wait till it's out of the cinema, get it on DVD or Netflix or just digital, however you choose to get it.
I was going to say, if it's good to look at, get it on Blu-ray. Get it on beautiful Blu-ray.
Absolutely.
I love Blu-ray.
Absolutely, but it's probably not worth your cinema ticket admission, however much that may be for you. But yeah,
oh, really?
That. Yeah, it's okay.
That's a shame, because you were really pumped for that film as well, weren't you?
I was. It's Brad Bird. It's the reason he chose that over Star Wars, and obviously I wouldn't choose anything over Star Wars personally if I was a director. But I understood why. He had a lot of stuff going on. He said he just managed to sign George Clooney on, and George Clooney pretty much wouldn't do that project without Brad Bird there, so he kind of felt compelled. And yeah, who knows? I'm sure Brad Bird will come into Star Wars later, and obviously it's all Disney. Tomorrowland, Star Wars, so there's a lot of interaction there in the studios. And Brad Bird's great anyway, Iron Giant, Incredibles, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol. He's a great director, tried and tested.
Yeah. And you got to think as well, like if it is all Disney, like Disney, for however good stuff or bad stuff it does, they love their money. So like if you do one good successful project for them, they're gonna keep bringing you back.
Tomorrowland isn't making that much money, and it probably will be out of the top 5 very soon. Mad Max will definitely outlast it, for sure.
Yeah, Mad Max was awesome. That's fantastic.
Mad Max was wonderful, and you can check out a whole podcast on us talking about that. What was that, two episodes ago?
Yeah, I think it was about 2 ago. Yeah, I think it was number 5. We spoke about Mad Max.
Oh, we're up to episode 7 now then.
Yeah, we're in episode 7. That's remember we missed a week as well.
Yeah.
Episode 7 weeks.
Blimey.
Yeah. Who would have guessed? But yeah, so moving on if you're ready to.
I am. One thing
I really want to talk about, and I don't know why, I'm really excited to talk about it, and I don't know why, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it the second I say it, so I feel like once I announce it, I'll need to preference like why I'm so excited about it.
Okay.
But one of the things I'm really excited for is the finally confirmed release of Fallout 4, or the release of the trailer, I should say. But before before we start talking about this at all, I feel I definitely need to say, for anyone who obviously has been subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, Dave, why is it you're so excited about Fallout 4? Why are you excited about Fallout 4 and you haven't finished Fallout New Vegas yet? And you've just all turned into Aaron Cash in my mind as well. Yeah, no, I know, I haven't finished out Fallout New Vegas. What have you? I curse past Dave for ever starting that walkthrough. But yeah, like, I'm really excited to see Fallout 4 come out, because we haven't heard anything from Fallout in a long time. So I'm excited.
When was Fallout 3? 2010 maybe?
Yeah, possibly. Was it Fallout 3 then New Vegas?
Yeah, oh that's true. And then I think New Vegas might have been 11 or 12.
Yeah, and then they just kept doing DLC for a long time.
Yeah.
It's Bethesda who do Fallout 4. So I suppose it's because they were so busy working on Elder Scrolls Online, probably.
Bethesda haven't been. That's ZeniMax that make online.
Is it? I thought that was.
Yeah.
Did they have nothing to do with that then?
They publish it, I think, but ZeniMax have been running the development on that.
Fine.
If I recall correctly, that is.
Oh, colour me corrected then. So, but anyway, have you seen the trailer for Fallout 4?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
What's your initial thoughts?
I think I'm whelmed. I'm trying to bring that phrase back. I don't know if it ever was around, but I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was pretty just whelmed by it.
I've actually never heard somebody use it like that. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it back. But
well, there you go, kids. It started right here on the Segue City podcast.
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna full disclosure. It's not because I'm like a Fallout fanboy and it didn't meet any expectations or anything. It's the opposite. I played probably an hour of Fallout 3 and it was okay, but I just felt like I didn't have time to invest in a game that big, and there was other shorter games that I wanted to play. So this will be my first major Fallout experience. So this I feel like this trailer was more designed for fans of Fallout to excite them. So I do understand that there probably just wasn't a lot in this trailer for me. So I do respect that completely.
Yeah, sorry, go on, carry on.
No, I finished, that's right.
I was just going to say, like, while we're talking, I'm watching it sort of like in silent as well in the background. And obviously links in the description so you guys want to watch the trailer so you know what we're talking about. But yeah, like I've watched a bit of Fallout 3. I played quite a bit of New Vegas up until when my walkthrough finished. So like I enjoyed it. Like I really wish I'd played it like I do with all my walkthroughs now, where I played it on my own before I started the walkthrough of it, so I could have fully enjoyed it for myself first. But I'm looking at this trailer and several different thoughts are going through my head, because I've never been a huge Fallout person. I've never been a huge Fallout player, so I feel like I can't really speak as like an avid fan or anything like that. But it seems like the one thing I saw which sort of excited me and worried me at the same time was they were doing a lot of flashbacks to before the nuclear holocaust. And as far as I know, I'm not sure if they've really done that much before. So I'm kind of thinking, how's everyone going to take this? Like, is it literally going to be a cutscene before the game starts and that's it? Or maybe you might get constant cutscenes as the game goes on? Or are you actually going to be able to play before?
That's interesting.
I think
maybe it'll be like was it Last of Us? It had like a prologue type mission where it was kind of in that it was during the outbreak or whatever it's called in Last of Us. Maybe in this there's like a kind of like a prequel mission at the beginning, and then it starts. You get the opening titles, and then boom, you're in the vault. Are they the vaults, right?
Yeah, possibly. There was a vault there that looked kind of brand spanking new. It didn't have any of like the rust or anything like pulling off of it. So my only other thought was maybe you're learning a story as you go through the game. It's like every time you hit certain bits, another cutscene's revealed or something like that, just showing
kind of ODST
what led
style
up to it. Maybe, but I'm just kind of worried if you can actually play before the Holocaust, it might. Cause you got to think as well, like stuff like Fallout, it's the same way that sort of Skyrim works. You have your starting thing, and then it's just gameplay. There's not really cutscenes. Like you have like these, in a sense, cutscenes where you're talking to a character and you can't get away from them, but it's still not really a cutscene. It's interactive, so
yeah, it's not pre-rendered basically.
Yeah, unless, for all we know, all these cinematic shots they could be purely just for the trailer.
Yeah, that's another possibility as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm not totally clued up on the whole Fallout thing. I've not played any of them. Well, I played 3 for about an hour, but that doesn't really count. That's not really enough, especially with a game like this. It's like a probably 300-hour game. Yeah, I kind of. So is it kind of like BioShock meets Last of Us? That's the kind of vibe I sort of got from the trailer. But then with a more like Skyrim gameplay to it. Is that what I'm in for with Fallout 4? Do you think?
So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like if you've played Skyrim, have you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So the sort of gameplay, in a sense, is very accurate to that. Like the way you sort of do things is the same as Skyrim. But it's just, I don't know. There's just this. The thing that first drew me to Fallout was the fact that it's post-apocalyptic, yet all the technology is really old. It's not necessarily technology as it is more mechanical, and that's what I thought was cool. Like it's all like putting stuff together with duct tape, and like your Pip-Boy's got like an old like glass screen instead of like being plasma and high tech, and that's what I kind of like. It was this really nice mixture of the future and the past together, almost
Yeah,
as
like
if
the whole futurism kind of style, like the future in the 50s kind of thing.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Like, what if a nuclear holocaust had happened, but in the 40s or the 50s? Like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think was really cool about. And I think I don't know if that's actually supposed to be what's happened, but like I thought that was what was really cool about it. So, in a sense, it is. Yeah, it's kind of like not so much BioShock, but kind of like a Skyrim meets just a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and with guns and stuff like that. It's a lot more. I don't know. Like, whereas in Skyrim, you get your weapon, you find, and you're like, oh, that's cool, and you can enchant it and stuff like that. In this, it was more like you get your gun, but it can be damaged, and you have to repair it, and you have to find the right ammo. It's a lot more sort of nitty-gritty survival, as opposed to in Skyrim, you've got 1,000 arrows in your quill, and, like, your bow, once you've got your bow, it just works. Like, in this, you need to get a gun, and if you've only got 2 bullets, you may not be able to find bullets for quite a long time. So it's... obviously depending on the difficulty you play on, but at least that was my experience in Fallout. I felt like it was really more survival. Like I'd always use my worst gun to try and save the ammo for the better gun.
Oh, okay.
Like that's the way I felt. Like whereas in something like Skyrim, once you've found a weapon, that weapon's yours. Like the worst thing that can happen is it runs out of an enchantment. So
yeah, like I said, this would be the first one I do properly jump on. So I am looking forward to that in that respect. And I think there's been no release date yet. If we get one, it will probably be at E3. But there's been lots of like rumours and potential leaks and stuff like that saying that it will be 2015, so there's that to look forward to. And if that's the case, it will be holiday, 2015, so December
like
time.
Yeah. The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if they've made this trailer because it got leaked. Because of the not the trailer itself, like the news that Fallout 4. There's been rumours for ages, but then it was actually almost got confirmed accidentally through like a job interview or something, wasn't it? Like,
I do remember hearing about this.
Do you remember that? Like they put out, they wanted a 3D modeler or a 3D graphic designer for the trailer of Fallout 4, and then there were screenshots of it everywhere all over the internet, like Fallout 4 confirmed. Like
yeah.
So either way, those guys must have got to work quick. I mean, that was only a couple of weeks ago I saw that, and now the trailer's here. I mean,
unless that, and I hate to be the conspiracy guy, unless that's part of the marketing train to get those. I'm doing quotation marks with my fingers, but you obviously can't see it. But unless those leaks just, got out there, as part of the word of mouth, starting to spread. Yeah. But it just seems weird to me that because Bethesda announced that they've got a panel at E3 for the first time. I think ever. I think it's the first time they've ever had a panel at E3 all to themselves. So I think there you're kind of thinking automatically, right, new Elder Scrolls or new Fallout, more likely to be new Fallout. So I think it was kind of already just in everyone's mind.
Yeah.
But it just seems strange that they wouldn't put this trailer at E3. That seems strange to me. That makes me think it's because of these leaks. So
maybe they might do a bit of gameplay.
Possibly, yeah.
In fairness, this whole trailer's been cinematic, so maybe they haven't got the gameplay down yet.
Yeah, I think it's probably an engine though, which is a good thing.
Yeah. But you saying about them possibly leaking that on purpose, I actually understand your thing. So if they suddenly release a Fallout 4 trailer and everyone's like, oh my god, Fallout 4, yes, blah, 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 and they watch it, that's good. But if everyone's already going, Fallout 4, is it actually coming? Is it actually coming? And then they release the trailer, that might have already hyped people up who weren't interested before. So I do understand where you're coming from with that.
And yeah, but that's it. If you got people talking for a month about this game that they've may never have heard of, and then you hear a trailer drops for it, you're like, well, I might check that out. Whereas if they drop a trailer for it, you might be like, oh, what's that? I don't know. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, marketing's a very expensive thing to do. If you're, paying for ads to pop up on websites, if you're paying for billboards, posters, things like that. Whereas if you're, again, air quotation marks that you can't see, leaking stuff, it's free. It takes a Reddit post, you know?
What do you think? Like, they got to leak that Fallout 4 was coming out, and they got themselves a 3D modeler at the same time. Like, like, it was two birds, one stone, really.
There you go. That is the genius of Bethesda right there.
I can imagine some guy in the I can imagine like some Bethesda boardroom, and one guy going, "What if we get a 3D modeler and leak the trailer at the same time?" Just drops the mic, and everyone's like, "Whoa!" Like losing their minds, throwing paper in the air, hugging, jumping out the window, like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, God knows what they have in store for us at E3 then. God.
Yeah, they just show the trailer again, like Fallout 4. And everyone's like, "Yeah, dude, we know." Like, but yeah, there was one other thing I thought when I watched the trailer, and it's one of those things where it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It has to. It's progression. But when I've watched people play Fallout 3 and I've watched people play Fallout New Vegas, there was this sense of old to it because of how almost like square and jarred everything was.
Okay.
And I thought the same thing with Call of Duty Nazi Zombies back at World at War. And this was the same thought that crossed my mind when then Black Ops came out and they had remastered it. And it was exactly the same, but it just looked a bit more polished. Right. And that's the same thought I've got when I'm looking at the Fallout 4 trailer. Like, it's still old and rustic, but it just looks a bit better. Like, the models are a bit better and they're a bit smoothed and a bit curved and a bit more realistic. But in a sense, that kind of removes a bit of that Fallout feeling you had. But it's like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it has to happen. Like, eventually, a decade down the line, everyone will be like, "Hey, let's play this new game." And then you're like, why the hell does Fallout still look like that? Like, it has to happen, but it's just in a sense, you're kind of losing a bit of that, kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But then if you thought about that, we'd still be playing Mario and Pac-Man, so like, it has to happen. It's just one of those things that I thought. I was just like, oh.
Well, some people still are playing Mario and Pac-Man.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's because nostalgia is the most addictive drug in the world. Let's be honest. It's one of them things, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. And one of the worst things you can do sometimes is go back and revisit nostalgia, because then it doesn't live up to how you remembered it.
Yeah, in fact, back in the Geek Space YouTube channel days, me and Shane ran a series called Xbox Originals, where I got my original Xbox out, and we started recording some of our old favourite games on that. Wow. In some cases, it was really good. Like, for me personally, with Halo, again, I've got a huge bias with Halo. Like your what was it you called it? Marvel blinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that with Halo. Like, it can do no wrong in my eyes, except it can do wrong. But the originals, they can never be broken for me. Like, you know, Halo 1 and Halo 2, they're just perfect games in my eyes, no matter what. So that was still good. But when I revisited some games like, I don't know if you ever played it, but Time Splitters 2, did you ever play?
I've heard about it. I never got around to playing it.
Oh, that game was one of the best when I was a kid. And when we went back to that, it is probably one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. It was, without a doubt. Yeah. It was just a painful experience. It really was. So
see, that's the thing, though. When you go back and revisit nostalgia, there is no, that. It is either massive payoff or destroying your childhood. There is no middle ground. Like, it is either worth it or it really isn't. So
yeah. Well, it was an interest. It was an education, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
So while we're actually on the topic of games, which is kind of rare, actually, you'd think I think it's just game news in general at the moment. As we're saying, E3's coming up, so everything's kind of quiet on the game front. But something else did drop this last week, and it's excited me a bit more than you, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to, as I quickly try and pause this annoying San Andreas ad that just popped up, and you probably heard, but if you want to go take this one
they
away.
Announced, I think it's obviously a working title at the moment, but XCOM 2, because there's been like probably 6 or 7 XCOM games. It's one of them ones where it was released in like the 90s and the old computers, and it's really slow and different to what, you know, the later ones were expected. But in 2012 they released XCOM Enemy Unknown, and that was on PC, 360 and PS3, I believe. And it's kind of a turn-based sci-fi game, but the newer ones, you know, fully like fully 3D and stuff like that. When you go out in the combat, it's not like, you know, names and 2D bits on the screen. It's like the full shebang. And it's got this really cool mechanic in there where you can create you can like rename and edit all the characters and stuff like that you get on your team. And but the thing is, when they die, they're dead. That's it. And that name will then go on this like memorial board. And in your base, you can go to that board and pay respects to all your like dead soldiers. So me and a friend were playing this game once for 16 hours, where we was doing some ridiculous like game binge, as you might do sometimes. If you don't, you definitely should. It's good fun. And I don't know whether it was purely this game or just a mixture of like the game and like the lack of sleep that we'd had at this point. But some of these characters started dying that we'd been attached to, like I said, for 8, 9, 10 plus hours. And like I said, once they're dead, they're dead. So we'd be paying respects to these like fallen soldiers and comrades, and we'd be moved almost to tears. And then a few years later they released, I think a year later in 2013 they released XCOM Enemy Within, which is just basically an expansion. It was just added mechanics and stuff like that to the game. Personally, I wasn't a fan. I thought the added things were a bit unneeded and a bit unnecessary. And then they released some third-person action game called XCOM Declassified, which is just totally different. And I've heard mixed things about it. I haven't played it myself. But as far as XCOM 2 is concerned, that makes me think, oh, it's going to be a sequel to the original reboot, to the rebooted 2012 version. So I cannot be more excited for this game. And again, it's weird that they released it before E3, but it's probably just a teaser to get people excited for it. Like we said, these leaks with Fallout could be.
Yeah. And for all you know, they might say, hey, this game's coming, and then go, we're going to be talking about this game at E3, or we're going to be talking this at Comic-Con or whatever. So then people are like, oh, cool, yeah, I'm going to go there to see
tune into that, yeah.
Yeah, because they already know it's on its way. So now they might be like, oh, what new information are we going to get?
It's different with Fallout, because obviously Bethesda announced that they've got a panel, whereas with XCOM, you may not know. I don't even know the game developers behind that. So if I saw them listed as, they've got a stand, not televised, I wouldn't know anything about it. So now that they've done this, I'm going to be going, it's E3 today, I better see what XCOM's done, so I'm going to be actively looking for it. So yeah, it's smart on their part.
Yeah. And one thing I instantly like about it already was just because they've got a thing that said concept art for XCOM's new mobile base called The Avenger, and I was like, ooh, I like that. I'm just like biased.
I definitely recommend you give that a play, Dave. I think you'll like it. It's good fun.
Yeah. Well, you saying like how attached you're getting to the characters and stuff like that is literally me when I'm playing games.
Yeah.
As anyone for you guys to watch my walkthrough, it's like during my Mass Effect 3 walkthrough, at the end of every single Normandy stories, I always stood Shepard outside the memorial wall for all the soldiers that had lost their lives from the start of Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 3 every time, and I was like, yeah, Shepard, you remember who got you here, like you remember. So no, I totally get it, but yeah, we were talking about this like slightly a little bit before the podcast, and we were saying like when you have characters and you know they can die, and when they die they don't come back, you play games completely differently. Like you play any game now and you'll just charge in. If you die, you just laugh off, respawn, however. But if you actually lose the character and there's no way you're getting them back, like you can't even start a brand new game, that character you created is gone. Like you play completely different, almost a bit more realistic to a certain extent, I feel, because you don't want them to die.
Yeah, because in real life there's obviously that risk of mortality, that people do die. And if you was actually a commander, which is the role that you play in XCOM, if you was actually a military commander, you're not going to be going, I want these two to run over here into this room where there's 10 aliens, because if you was a real commander, this is people's lives. You don't know whether I'm spitballing here being stupid, but you don't know whether these guys have got kids at home, that sort of thing. So you're not just going to throw them in like it's another figure, another statistic in your arsenal, another weapon in your arsenal as a person. And when that person dies in your game and they stay dead, it makes you as a player think these sort of things and make these decisions differently, and it just helps the overall immersion of the game, because that's ultimately one of the main reasons you play a game. You want to feel like you're living this lifestyle. You want to be the military commander, and it definitely helps with that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, that's exactly what it is. Like, you're sending them out. And I think when you hit down the head when you say it's about the immersion, like, that's what I feel a lot of games really lack. Like, some of it when it is just for gameplay, like the multiplayer on COD or something like that, that's fair enough. Like, that is literally just to watch those tens and those hundreds appear on the screen. Like, that's all it's there for. But other especially single player games, it's about immersion. And if you're like hitting the bottle hard because I sent those men out there and they died on my watch, then like that means that game's done something. Like, that's perfect. Like, I can see you like Lieutenant Dan or Captain Dan or whoever he is from Forrest Gump. Like,
yeah, Lieutenant Dan. Yeah.
You got no legs, Lieutenant Dan. I can see you sitting there like you've grown a beard in a matter of seconds. It's like Shane's like, what happened? My men, they died. But yeah, good stuff. But yeah, we don't normally talk about games, but there was some stuff that I felt really needed to be spoke about then. Like a game individually, we were both pretty pumped about.
Yeah. Another one of the many reasons I was in a good mood this week is as a game I like, as well as film stuff I like.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of some of the film stuff I like,
I was just gonna segue that as well. I was literally about to.
We've got some Guardians of the Galaxy news this week, which is a rare treat, especially for me.
Oh yes, and I'm assuming you guys would agree with us that Guardians of the Galaxy was just fantastic. It was a brilliant film directed by a brilliant man, and we finally have a little bit of news coming out about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so that's pretty awesome. But basically it was there's two bits of news really. There was one thing that I forget his name now. Chris Pratt had read a part of the script that James Gunn had pitched to him, and basically by the end of it he had teared up because of how great the script was, and I'm guessing how emotional it was, and I think that's in direct relation to the other bit of news was the fact that they said that the second movie isn't going to be kind of like the rest of the Marvel movies are, where it's just bigger and louder and more. It's going to be like, okay, the first one there was action. This one we're focusing on the characters and we're actually getting to learn who the characters are and what makes them tick, which I think is going to be perfect. Because I love like a team. Like I love a bunch of people who just come together because of the situation, just like Mass Effect, just like Guardians, like where they're just the situation made them a team. And then you actually get to see how they interact and stuff like that. And apparently that's one of the things Chris Pratt said. He was like, the script is so good about like everything that happens. So it's just, yeah.
Well, it's really necessary as well for these characters in Guardians in particular, because it's not like Avengers where, you have all this team together and then, you can develop Iron Man in the next Iron Man film, and then you can develop Captain America in the next Captain America film. Because with the Guardians, you can't just develop Star-Lord in the next Star-Lord film, because you're only going to see Star-Lord in the next Guardians film. So it's good that we're still getting character development in this, and we're still getting that treatment with the ensemble of cast and characters. So it's good that James realizes that.
Yeah.
And it's good that he's writing a moving script as well, because obviously we're going to be dealing a lot with Star-Lord, or Peter Quill's dad in this one. I think that's going to be an important part of who he is and who he becomes. And I think, because I think the Guardians, while what they did in the last film was great, they've still got a long way to go before they're going to make any difference in the Infinity War, which we know is coming.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, obviously, links in the description for everything we talk about. But for the piece of the article I'm reading right now, it says Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has fewer characters but one new. And I think what that essentially means is they're skimming off a lot of all the other side characters, as you said, like before the podcast, Tommy, the Nova Corps, stuff like that. Like a lot of characters that were important to the initial story of how they've all come together. But now we're focusing against more of them as individuals and them as teams. We don't really need as many side characters. However,
how often did we dwell with the what do they call him? The broker. In the first Guardians film, like I get it, like he was there a couple of times, but I think we got him a bit too much. And other characters like the Collector, who obviously had an important role to play, we probably won't be getting bit parts like that. I say bit parts. I thought Del Toro was brilliant. Benicio del Toro was brilliant as the Collector, but I just think like it's another mouth to feed in terms of characters on screen. So I think we're gonna have less roles like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but however, like even though I get what you're saying, like he was just another one adding it in to go, oh look, there's the Collector. His role in First Guardians was actually really important, not just the Guardians, but the entire Marvel universe. It was the first time
in Thor 2.
Yeah, exactly. It was the first time a character actually explained what the Infinity Stones were, and about the Celestials, and like it was the first time that all of that was actually explained, so we knew what the hell was going on. So, or at least those who don't read the comics knew what the hell was going on. So, I mean, his role then was very important. Obviously, now in the second one, I don't see how he would be, unless this other character that's been introduced is Adam Warlock. Then I suppose he would have a bit of a purpose in this one. But yeah, but I think it's right. Like as you said, it's about developing the characters as more. Because I love any team. Like whenever they're a team thrown together, like Guardians, like Mass Effect, like Buffy, like Angel, like any program like that, where you're just a bunch of people who have just gathered together with different backgrounds to fight a common fight. I love it. I absolutely love it, and I
That's
hate
why
it.
you like Smallville so much.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love that as well, and I just love it when it's like that. But I hate it when they do that and then they don't focus on the characters at all. And you're like, I'm watching this for the characters.
Yeah.
I'm not watching to see these people fight that bad guy. I'm watching because I want to see these people I've got to know and how they're going to battle this bad guy. Not like just to see the fight. I want to see what happens to those people, not the actual fight itself. It's like we can look at this so much more like Gamora. How does she feel about being Thanos' child, even though she isn't technically biologically Thanos' child? But how does she feel like that she's favorited over Thanos' actual biological child? How does she feel like being raised by the man who slaughtered her entire race? Like, what about Rocket? Like, we've already got a little bit of a glimpse of the fact in the first one he said like, I didn't choose to be made. He's like, how does he feel? Like, Groot's got no one left either. Like, his race has pretty much been extinct, isn't it, as well? If I'm correct in thinking.
Maybe.
I think they said he was the last of his race. He was a prince or something like that.
Yeah, of Planet X.
Yeah. But, so, like, and obviously we've already got quite a little bit into Drax as well, and obviously this is going to be heavily probably on Peter Quill and his father, but, like, there is so much character development they can do in this, and I think it's going to be awesome.
And if they're going about it the right way as well, where it's bringing people to tears, that's what we want. I want to be bawling my eyes out in that screen.
Yeah. And let's face it, like the first Guardians was hilarious, but at the same time, I was more emotionally invested in the first Guardians film than I have been in hardly any of the other Marvel films. And don't get me wrong, obviously, you know me, I'm a massive Marvel fanboy. I love all the Marvel movies, but Guardians was the first one where I watched, and like I think it was Mike Gamble, one of like the producers or the creators of Mass Effect, summed it up perfectly on his Twitter. I just became emotionally attached to a CGI tree and raccoon. Come on, we need to step it up, games. And like I think that's true. Like this is the first film. Not only was I laughing my ass off throughout the film, but I sat there and that bit like obviously where Rocket's like holding on to Groot and he's like, no, but you'll die. Like I sat there and I was like, those feels like that.
You'll laugh your ass off. You'll cry your eyes out, and you'll sing your heart out.
Yes, true.
And the action is non-stop. It's one of the most perfect superhero films of our time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think if they're going to be focusing on the characters and the team and the character development, then man, it's just I can't wait for it. It's going to be cool. Like when people always say like what Marvel films are you looking forward to most? Obviously the Infinity Wars, hands down right now Civil War. But if you're telling me to push them aside, Guardians 2. I'm pumped for Guardians 2. That's like, especially since how the first one blew me out of the water. I was not expecting it to be that.
I think it took the world by surprise.
Completely.
It really did, didn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's a few big things, like we've said, but also just a combination of little things to set design to the color palette they've used throughout the entire thing. Like a load of little things all building up also help to make it be so cool. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm really cool. And like, do you have any speculations on who this other character is going to be? Like. We both.
It's going to be Adam Warlock. I'm almost convinced. I mean, James Gunn also spoke about a character that was originally in the first Guardians that he eventually cut, and it made things a lot easier. And I think it's basically a full-blown conclusion that character was Adam Warlock. And the way he speaks just kind of insinuates it's the same character he's put in this one. And I mean, the Easter egg's been debunked a few times, but a lot of people still aren't convinced that Adam Warlock's cocoon wasn't in the first Guardians, or was in. So I think it's going to be him, and I think, as you've said many times before, he obviously has a big role to play in things to come. But honestly, if I was to take Adam Warlock out of the equation, I could also speculate perhaps Richard Rider.
Possibly, yeah. And like, obviously, you'd have a strong link as well with the Nova Corps.
Absolutely. I mean, Nova have already been introduced. I can see them kind of, potentially saying, you could open with the Guardians committing some sort of crime, and their pardon's only going so far, and Nova saying, well, Nova Corps saying, you can carry on doing what you're doing out of prison, on the condition that you have Richard Rider as a liaison to you, perhaps in that sort of capacity. I don't know. I'm not James Gunn. I'm not the writer. But I could see a couple of things, to be honest.
Yeah.
What about you?
Like when you were saying there was a character in the start, like now you've mentioned Richard Rider, like now I'm like kind of in two minds, because I'm like, Richard Rider would have fit in the first film a lot easier than Adam Warlock would have. So like maybe they were always planning on making Adam Warlock's cocoon crack at the end of the first one. But then at the same time, I'm thinking maybe they put that in the end because he was supposed to be in the first one, and then like maybe like in the first Guardians originally they were going to make Adam Warlock's cocoon crack after the thing with the Collector, and then he was going to join the fight like towards the end of the film, and maybe that's why it was easier to cut him out, because he was only in there for really a portion of the film and it made no sense, and they already had their team together, which came together really quickly at the start. So, but at the same time, I think Richard Rider of Nova would have fit a lot better as well.
I think they could have put Richard Rider in the John C. Reilly role.
True, but then I kind of like John C. Reilly in that. I really liked him.
Make John C. Reilly. If they just changed his character from, what was it? Ray. Is it Ray?
I don't ever remember hearing his name.
Right, Dave.
We IMDb-ing this. Am I vamping?
Yeah, you're vamping, mate. Go.
The things like that. Even though he was like, I liked his role. Like it was kind of like he's one of those big actors though. That sometimes I think, and he's not huge, but like he's one of those big actors that sometimes you put him in a role and it takes away from the film. Because like, whereas other films, I'm like, oh, I recognise that guy, I recognise this person, but I just see the character they're playing. I'd see John C. Reilly, and I'm like, oh, Step Brothers, like, or Wreck-It Ralph, or what was it?
Yeah, Day, D-E-Y.
D-A-Y, all right.
D-E-Y.
I thought you said Dave or Dan at first. I was like, what a cosmic name! Like, they go light years across the galaxy to meet Dave. See, that's the reason I'd never be a superhero. It's like, who saved us? Dave.
Kick-Ass, his name's Dave.
And he doesn't have any powers, and he gets his ass handed to him.
Do you know how he got his name?
Oh.
Mark Miller did a competition in one of his things saying like, name a superhero, and the guy who won its name was like, I forget is it Dave Lebowski or something like that? It's and he just wanted it to be named after him, so he was like, yeah, my name. That's how he got his name. Which is, I'd probably do the same if I won the competition. I'd be like, yep, his name's Tommy Terry Green. Yeah.
And let's face it though, he had a pretty good name for it as well, Dave Lebowski. Like that sounds like just your average Joe blogs, that does. So it's just, that sounds like a perfect name for him as well. But hey ho. But yeah, anyway, where should we segue on from this one? Where should we move on to? I suppose we could always just keep it Marvel, I guess, since how we are on Guardians of the Galaxy right now.
Let's do it. Let's keep it in the family.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. Where? Let's stick. Oh, there was something I was about to say, but let's stick to the Marvel movies right now. So let's move on to. Speaking of, see that we were just talking about big actors. Let's go on to Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, can you pronounce his name right?
I'm practicing. I've got like the what are they called, the phonics.
Oh, the phonetic spelling.
Like when you have it like just spelt out like on Wikipedia and stuff. Like, say it like this, like. I've got one of those say things where you spin around. It goes cow. C-A-C-O-W. Damn it! In England, they're spelt quaw. But yeah, so basically, the news that Matthew McConaughey, I'm just gonna call him Matt. That Matt has been, there's been rumours that he's been talking with both Marvel and DC, and trying to get on the superhero game. And basically, right now, it seems like he's been more leaning, or not leaning towards. It's just they're saying that he's been, was it reading a script for Marvel?
I think Marvel have been pitching different ideas to him, because I think it's important for his agents probably telling him like, look, Matt, like, because they would also probably be calling him Matt or Matthew. Yeah. But look, Matthew, right, lock down a franchise, because apparently his latest film that debuted at Cannes, the festival in France, apparently it received, open to boos. But that's like, at Cannes, everything's either booed or cheered, and some of the best films of all time have been booed at Cannes. Taxi Driver, one of the best films ever made by Martin Scorsese, was booed at Cannes. So that's no indication. But apparently as well, the critics are saying that it's a terrible, terrible film. So everyone's saying this kind of reconnaissance, which is, the reconnaissance of Matthew McConaughey, of his career, is kind of coming to an end. So I reckon his agent's kind of saying, nah, lock down. Get a contract so you've got guaranteed work for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. But
so I think that's the kind of position he's in right now.
All right. So let's face it, even Marvel and DC.
And then I think Marvel and DC are both having to sit down and saying, you can do this, you can do that.
Yeah,
or,
and like
whatever.
either one are going to lap him up right now. They'd love to have a big star like that in a secure, hopefully long-term role.
Especially if it's cheaper than Robert Downey Jr. because he's kind of the big star power, but he's draining the budget of every film he's in. You know, asking him 20 million a film or whatever he's on.
Wasn't it? I mean, this could be purely rumour. It was one of those things on Facebook where there's a picture and text over the top, and it was like Downey Jr. said that apparently he was going to stop doing it unless everyone got the same pay as him, or something like that. But
I don't think that's true, and that also wouldn't be down to him.
Yeah, because I saw one equally saying that he did the opposite as well. So. But
yeah, well, for the first Avengers, he earned about 18 million more than everyone else.
Jesus.
Yeah, like everyone else was on like
so
between 7 to 8 million, and he was on like 23, 24 million.
Saying that, I wouldn't exactly scoff my nose at 8 million either, though.
Yeah, and these other guys, unfortunate as it is, their films weren't as successful as Iron Man was.
Yeah. And other than the fact that obviously he did a good job of it, he just also has the luck of being the first one out the gate.
Well, it's tricky actually, because people always talk about how Marvel films are so much better than the DC films. But if you look at the history of it, right, let's go on a little history lesson here. We go to 2005. In 2005, Elektra came out, Blade Trinity came out, and Ghost Rider came out, and Batman Begins came out. Of those 4 films, 3 of them are Marvel, 1 of them are DC, and there's only 1 good film in there, and I can tell you right now, it's not a Marvel film.
I was going to say, what an awful year for Marvel movies. Like, literally, whoever was in charge of that year must have got fired.
Then let's fast forward it again another 3 years. It's 2008. Now we've got 3 superhero films coming out. We've got The Dark Knight, we've got Iron Man, and we've got The Incredible Hulk. Okay? So if you take Iron Man out of the equation there, you've got The Dark Knight, which is critically acclaimed and regarded as one of the best films of all time, let alone superhero films. It's the only time a comic book character has ever won an Oscar for a performance in a film, being Heath Ledger and the Joker. And then you've got Incredible Hulk, which is just regarded as a film that just wants to be forgotten. Yeah. If Iron Man doesn't come out that year, or if Iron Man doesn't work, there is no Marvel Cinematic Universe. There's just 2 great Chris Nolan Batman films.
Yeah.
So then who's winning? It's only because Iron Man did so well, and I'm talking really, really well, both critically, financially, and just with received by fans in general, that it launched the whole Marvel universe. I mean, another Marvel film came out that year, and it wasn't even that good. But just because Robert Downey Jr. was in it for 2 minutes at the end, people don't forget about it completely.
And that was the first hint we ever got, other than obviously the end of Iron Man.
Samuel Jackson. Yeah. But still, like that's how good that first Iron Man was, and so much of that is on Robert Downey Jr.'s shoulders. Obviously, I wouldn't want Jon Favreau to be forgotten in this conversation, or Kevin Feige, because they both had huge roles to play. But, you take away one of those 3 players, again, Feige, Favreau, and Downey Jr., Iron Man doesn't work, and then the Marvel franchise doesn't work. So that's why he's getting paid as much as he is.
Yeah, man, rightfully so. It's just, it does obviously suck when one gets more than the others. But no, I totally understand why he's getting that much. And
then obviously we fast forward again to 2012. We've had loads of Marvel films at this point. Then we get Avengers. Then we get Dark Knight Rises. Things don't start going not quite as well for DC anymore. And then that's when we get the swing up of Marvel. And then Marvel have been pretty much on top ever since. But that could all change next year.
Yeah.
With Batman v Superman.
But that's the thing, is like if you look at it, it's a bit of a pattern, and it makes sense. They're learning, because you think DC, awesome film, Marvel were turning out a lot of films and they were awful, and they thought, all right, we need to do something about this. They thought, let's make a shared universe, kind of like basically the comic books on the big screen, and they started doing that. Iron Man came out, let's ignore the Hulk, but then we've got Thor, and then Captain America, then the Avengers. And they were knocking it out of the park consecutively. And then I'm messing up all my words today. And then DC were still making their films, and they were making great films with the Batman films, but they were quite far apart. And there was one a couple of years, another one a couple of years. So they're still doing well, but it was taking time. Where in the meantime, Marvel was like boom, 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 and now they're knocking it out of the park each time. DC have seen that, finished their Christopher Nolan trilogy, their Batman trilogy, and gone, okay, this shared universe thing has saved Marvel, and it's done really well for them. Let's do the same thing. So they do Superman, Man of Steel, and now they're doing Batman vs Superman. They're bringing in Suicide Squad as well, and it's you can see a pattern. DC were doing really well. Marvel thought we need to change. Done that. DC are like, okay, Marvel's beating us now. We need to do something to change. We're gonna do that. And like for all we know, like even though Marvel are killing it, and I hope they keep killing it, but that's 5-10 years down the line, who's to say DC might not suddenly start destroying Marvel at the box office?
Well, this thing's been changing since really the 70s when the first Superman film came out. Because let's fast forward from that actually to the 90s. You've got Batman Forever's come out, and we're in between waiting for Batman and Robin. This is when the Superman Lives film was supposed to come out, and this Superman was supposed to exist in the same universe as that Batman, which, you know, again from the same as the Michael Keaton Batman and unfortunately the Val Kilmer Batman. And Kevin Smith, who I spoke about on the last week's episode, who wrote the first draft of the Superman Lives script, was asked to take a role kind of as like exactly like an executive producer, and what's basically now known as the Feige role, where he was going to be in charge of the DC shared universe, and he was going to be in charge of, you know, who's going to write the script for the Green Lantern film, who's going to write the script for the Justice League film, for the Martian Manhunter, etc., etc. Kind of like what has been going on with Marvel and what is happening with Justice League now. This is all in talks in 1995. So DC kind of, Warner Brothers more specifically, had these plans in place long before Marvel ever did. This is at the point where Marvel were putting out Blade, and that was it. This is before X-Men happened. This is before, Fantastic Four and stuff like that. This is when DC was at its prime, and they was talking about the shared universe stuff. But then, obviously, as I spoke about before, Superman Lives didn't happen because Batman and Robin failed as badly as it did, with back credit cards and all what have you.
Yeah.
And as I said, you can watch the documentary The Death of Superman Lives. I think it comes out in July. And it's brilliant, and you can learn more about filmmaking and how this sort of came and went. But one movie can make or break stuff, and if what happened with Batman and Robin happened with Iron Man, then we probably wouldn't have had Avengers: Age of Ultron just now, and we certainly wouldn't be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Or maybe they would have still happened, but the caliber of actors we would have had in them might have been far, far less.
Very true, and especially definitely the budget would have been lower. They certainly would have been paying $23 million for an actor in a film.
Yeah, we'd still have the first Captain America uniform.
Yeah.
like the same sort of uniform that's used in all the parody videos and all that sort of stuff. It would have that kind of video. But we'd have Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk.
Well, what I do like about the way they spoke about Kevin Smith, what they spoke about him doing in the 90s and what Kevin Feige has been doing since, pre-2008, is that they've been running these films like it's a TV show. And Kevin Feige's role is essentially he's just a showrunner. And now that they're bringing that same formula to the TV, because I don't think that the Marvel TV universe has been working the way they wanted it to. I don't know, certainly Kevin Feige has mentioned many times that he doesn't like the TV universe as much. It doesn't work as much for him. I don't know how the best way to put it is. I don't know how he's worded it before. But it's not his favourite thing to work on or work with, but it's kind of getting there. And now after the big hit that Daredevil's been, I think he's probably going to be investing a lot more time, money, and talent into that world. So I guess that segues us nicely into the...
I was going to say that, and I realised we never spoke about Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, yeah.
I realised we didn't even say what the news was. I just realised. I thought, oh, yeah, we can start talking about Netflix. And then I thought, holy hell, we haven't actually spoken about the news with old Matt. But... But basically, I'll say it now. We might as well talk about it while we're here.
That was such a nice segue.
It really was. That worked so well. But I feel like I can't just leave them hanging with this. But basically, the rumor is right now that Matthew McConaughey, oh god,
you lost
Matt is in talks to be in the new Spider-Man movie, and possibly it's rumored for the role of Norman Osborn.
Which I think works. I think it works for Matthew McConaughey. I think it's a good role for him to take. It's nothing. It's not like anything he's played before, and I think he's now an Oscar winner, a best actor winner. He needs to challenge himself. He can't be playing the same all right in every film. I think it's important that he takes these roles that he can't just foam it in, which apparently is what it is in this film at Cannes. Apparently he's just phoning it in, and it's just standard McConaughey, and it just doesn't work. He needs to challenge himself, and what better way to do that than with a role like Norman Osborn, where he doesn't have to play Green Goblin in the next film. He doesn't have to play it ever. He could just be this, you know, big executive villain for the, you know, the Lex Luthor kind of role for the next, like, you know, 4 or 5 films.
See, and that's the thing. It depends how far they want to span it out. Like how far do they really want him to be Norman Osborn? Because then, as you say, he can be Norman Osborn in the first, second Spider-Man film, and then the third and the fourth, he really starts showing himself as the Green Goblin. So it depends how far how long they want the franchise of Spider-Man to go on for, and how.
Well, we've got those 4 Spider-Man films apparently set over 4 years of his life. I'll be interested to see. Again, this is all hearsay and speculation. Matthew McConaughey. Now you've ruined it for me. Matthew McConaughey could be playing, you know, a janitor. He could be an extra for all we know. Like, you know, there's been no confirmation on this. This is purely speculation. But that Norman Osborn role could be, you know, a real background character in these Spider-Man films, or it could be, you know, as big as Willem Dafoe's role was in the first Spider-Man film. So
see, that's what I was going to say. Because obviously in the first Spider-Man film, we had William Dafoe playing Norman Osborn. And I liked him as Norman Osborn.
I loved him. I thought he was really good.
Like a lot of people, myself included, like to talk smack about the first Spider-Man films, but I liked him as William Dafoe. I liked him as Norman Osborn. I thought he played a really good role. The guy who played Norman Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man, I've been searching for his name for a little while now, and I honestly cannot find him. I can't. Do you remember the name of the actor who played Norman Osborn in the Amazing Spider-Man?
I barely remember Norman Osborn in that film. He was just bedridden, wasn't he?
Yeah, I can't find his name in IMDb. It's just not. Either I'm flicking past it 'cause I'm looking too quickly, but either way, I can't find his name. But hey ho, I will. But yeah, he was really a non-character. He really wasn't there. He was just. He could have been anyone. Like there was nothing about him that you thought that's Norman Osborn. Like he could have been anyone. So, but I think like. Matt can. I'm just gonna. Why do I keep trying to say his name? Matt can just like go in there and give a new version of the way that Norman Osborn's done. Because the way William Dafoe did it was brilliant. Before he was the Green Goblin, he was Norman Osborn. He was still a businessman, but he was still a normal guy. Like he maybe been a bit horrible. He might have been a bit mean, a bit business driven, but he still was a normal human. It was only when he got the Green Goblin in him, he went crazy. And you even saw him having arguments with himself in front of the mirror. Like, did I kill those people? Why have I done that? I didn't want to do that. Like, he had that back and forth, that argument, which is something Norman Osborn's always had. Like, when he's the Green Goblin, he's the Green Goblin. But sometimes he has these rare moments of clarity where he's like, what the hell am I doing? And then Green Goblin's like, nah, come on, we're doing this. Like, this is happening. So I think, especially, it's a shame really you haven't seen True Detective, because that wasn't necessarily the character that Matt played in True Detective, but he did play a weird person. He was very strange to the point that for a lot of the film, and obviously I'm not going to say which way it went, you think that maybe he's the one doing all the killings because he is just that odd and that reclusive and that strange. So you think, oh, maybe that is him. And I can see him doing a good Norman Osborn in the sense of just the look on his face without even having to say anything. You just look and you're like, something's off about you. Like, something's just not quite right. I could see him playing that role well. Just standing there. Like, not even the main focus, but your eyes are just drawn to him because you're like, this is not something quite right. I can imagine him playing that really well. And plus with his southern accent as well, I think that will lend a lot to maybe the seriousness or creepiness of his character when he does go Goblin.
Sure. Just real quick, Chris Cooper played Norman Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was also the bad guy in Bourne Identity, if you remember that film.
No, I haven't seen that in a very long time.
Yeah, so it's a long way back.
Yeah.
2002, I think that came out. But
I was going to say one thing about him being Norman Osborn. It opens up, if he is going to be Norman Osborn, being a big actor could then say he's going to be in the other films. He might get like a Samuel Jackson kind of deal. Obviously not 9 movies, but he might get like okay, we're giving you a 3 or 4 movie deal. That could also be great, not just in the Spider-Man movies, but in the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Absolutely.
Because there was one thing I saw that someone said, like, if we're going to get Norman Osborn, how about we get a more up-to-date Norman Osborn who doesn't affect Spider-Man, but he affects the Avengers? Because there is one version of Norman Osborn where he literally takes over S.H.I.E.L.D., he takes over everything and becomes the Iron Patriot. Before War Machine starts being the Iron Patriot.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, he basically runs his own team of the Avengers, and the world thinks he's this great poster boy, when really the real Avengers know who he is. And he's in Iron Man, he gets all of Iron Man's armor, he owns it because he owns S.H.I.E.L.D., and a bunch of hoo-ha happens. But basically, he has all of Iron Man's armor. and Norman Osborn's running around as the Iron Patriot. Like, do I see that happening in the MCU? No, but after Civil War, that could be a great stepping stone for something like that to happen. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, especially since how here we go, segueing on. Especially since how there have been rumours that Spider-Man or maybe Oscorp may be featured or mentioned in Ant-Man.
And that comes from Kelvin at Latino Review.
Yes. But yeah, like I think that's cool because since our Ant-Man's coming out soon and we are just like talking about Norman Osborn and old Matt being in that role as well, I think that's kind of cool. Like that's something I'm quite excited about. Like it's just at the very end or maybe because there's I think the bit I read, the bit that I heard was just basically saying that there's going to be a point, obviously, with like the Ant-Man technology and the Yellow Jacket technology that's going to be in the upcoming Ant-Man film. That at one point, either the bad guy or what have you will be trying to sell it off to the highest bidder, yada yada yada. And apparently, it's rumored that one of these companies that might be trying to buy it might be Oscorp. So whether that is literally all we're getting, or if there might actually be like a Spider-Man Easter egg at the end, like in the post-credits, who knows? But there's a lot of talks of.
I kind of think that'd be
Oscorp.
enough. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the things I was thinking. Like, I was kind of worried to a certain extent with the amount of stuff people are like, "Where's Spider-Man going to be? Where's Spider-Man going to be?" Because now he's come in, I'm worried they're going to try and put him into too many things, and it's going to really seem like he's been put there as opposed to he's supposed to be there. Because like when we were saying before about Civil War, we were saying about how he had done 2 scripts, one with Spider-Man, one without. So if they got the rights to Spider-Man, they can just throw him in and it will fit. It won't seem like he's been thrown in. I'm kind of worried that if they're going to fit him into too many places, like if it's an Easter egg at the end, cool. But if they're actually going to try and integrate Spider-Man into these different movies where he's not supposed to be, that's where I'm going to be worried. But
Can we talk a second about Spider-Man? I'm
Yeah,
sure you won't say no.
there was nothing else really to mention about Ant-Man. I just kind of wanted to bring up the fact that he could possibly, when Ant-Man comes out in July, he could possibly be a Easter egg, either him or Oscorp. So, but no, yeah, go on, talk about.
Let me ask you. Spider-Man is definitely 100% confirmed. He's in Civil War, right?
As far as I know, however, I have seen some stuff recently that were saying possibly the other. But as far as I know, like he hasn't been released with this cast list that we keep seeing.
That's what I mean. I mean, Civil War's already shooting. That's been shot now. I think we announced, a few weeks ago in an episode that film's shooting right now as we speak.
Yeah.
The shooting's ongoing. If Spider-Man's in that, either he's going to be in a very, 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 very small role, probably literally post-credit scene kind of role, which is odd because they wouldn't announce that he's going to be in the film, I don't think, if he was just going to be post-credit scene. Or they've already cast him and, Isaac Butterfield or, Tom Hooper or whoever else is already on set and already shooting. Because how is that going to work if they haven't even cast him yet, apparently? There's no way that adds up logistically.
Well, something I heard, I think it was on the Clever Movies YouTube channel. They were saying that a couple of other people have been added to the shortlisting of who Spider-Man could be. Even though they're saying it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, at least in the rumour mill, that it's going to be Isaac Butterfield. They've flown some other people out. However, I heard they'd flown them out to the Civil War set. So Isaac Butterfield and whoever the others are who are currently reading for the role, screen testing. Apparently, they've actually all been taken to the set of Civil War. So as far as I know, he's going to be in it. I don't think he's going to have a large role in it, but I do think he's going to have a significant role in it. Like just as much as say someone, maybe not as Falcon, but just like as all the other characters they've mentioned. I don't think he's just going to have like a flyby, like a swing by. I think he's going to be in it, but I don't think he's going to be a main focus. I don't think he's going to be like a Cap, an Iron Man.
There is no way that works then. If they're already shooting, they haven't even cast that character. Logistically, that just doesn't make sense. Either he's already been cast, or he's going to have a much smaller role than we think. Now, let me throw this at you. See what you think of this. This is, again, me purely speculating right now. There's no confirmation to this whatsoever. What if, right, Isaac Butterfield is Spider-Man. He's shooting stuff. He's screen tested. He's shooting stuff on the set with them. But these actors that they're pulling to the set to screen test with, what if they're screen testing Harry Osborn's?
Possibly.
Same age.
That would be cool. And
what if they're screening them with Isaac Butterfield and it's just all kind of a misdirect?
That would actually be very awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Because, and also, if you look at a lot of these other people that have been billed to be, and I'm air quoting, Spider-Man, they do actually have a lot more of a Harry Osborn look to them.
So this is just, again, this is pure speculation, but yeah, it could be an interesting theory if nothing else.
Yeah, because like, if you look at the very first Spider-Man, James Franco actually originally went for the role of Spider-Man, and he lost it to Tobey Maguire. Then they gave him Harry Osborn instead, which, if you face it, was a lot better because James Franco and William Dafoe just visually looked very similar. Like you could tell, you could believe they're father and son.
Yeah.
That's how, at least that's what I thought. So maybe that could be, because I mean it happened once before with James Franco going for Spider-Man. So maybe these all were screen testing for Spider-Man. And unless one of them severely knocked it out of the park, they were just going, okay, we've got Isaac Butterfield. But one of you guys could be Harry Osborn or what have you.
Yeah. So what if they're saying, let's bring you out on set, and we'll say, oh, we don't know who's going to be Peter Parker, but either it's you, and these guys, they're just working on that Harry role. It's probably not the case. It really might not be, but it's just because I don't see how it works otherwise. I don't see how they're shooting this film, Spider-Man's going to be in it, and they haven't even cast him yet. That doesn't make sense to me.
Once they cast him, I mean, like, seriously, how long would it take from the point to say, okay, you're Spider-Man, to actually get him to film in? If he's already there, bear in mind. Like,
That's what I'm saying. That's why it depends on the role. That's what it means. It depends on the role. If he's got a small role, it could, be not much at all. But this film comes out in March, and they're probably stop. When did they start shooting? Should we say 3 weeks ago? They started shooting.
I think they could do it. If you think like Mark
they started shooting 3 weeks ago. Let me just try and work this out. They probably need another 1, 5, probably about another 7 weeks of shooting left potentially. So about a month and a half, we'll say June, July, about halfway through August, they'll probably wrap shooting. What was it? October, November, December? Yeah.
Well, the one thing I'm thinking is like Frank Grillo, who plays Brock Rumlow. It's rumored, at least he said that they finished shooting him for Civil War. So we're assuming he's gonna have like not necessarily a huge role, but he's gonna have a significant role in the film. So maybe Spider-Man will have that same sort of role, and it could be all the Spider-Man scenes could be the last things they film. It doesn't necessarily mean he has a tiny role. It just could mean that maybe his roles don't involve a huge amount of characters. Because for all we know, he could be in it in a sense that Cap and Iron Man are on the recruit. Like they're trying to think like whose side are you on?
See,
and he could prop up in several scenes where they're trying to get him on their side. It doesn't necessarily mean he's.
See, I'm thinking Spider-Man. If anyone, he's gonna be on the schedule most of all because first he's on Cap's side, then he's on first he's on Iron Man's side, then he's on Cap's side, and then there's combat for both. So
see, that's the thing. We're assuming it's following the comics, which we know it's already not. Like,
which is why I really think he's gonna have a small role.
I still think that role of Spider-Man is going to someone, say like Hawkeye. Or Scarlet Witch.
I think it's more likely to be going to Black Panther, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Black Panther. Yeah, definitely. Like I'm thinking like War Machine is right in Iron Man's camp. Falcon is right in Cap's corner. Other than a few others, I think it's open to debate. And I'm thinking people like, as you say, Black Panther. Or
I can't see Scarlet Witch going to Tony Stark because
she's already part of the New Avengers as well. So
right, she's already part of the New Avengers with Cap, and I'm still waiting for the time that she has this confrontation with Stark about the bomb that was in her house. It says Tony Stark on it because that was a huge part of Age of Ultron for me, and they didn't address it once, and that was one of the things that annoyed me about that film. So I'm still waiting for that personally. So I think she's firmly on Cap's side.
They did a bit because they were saying like Stark's not the man you think he is. And stuff like that.
They didn't have that confrontation.
There was a few moments where they saw Iron Man do something, and they sort of looked at him like, "Oh," like they even said like, even though
that was the main reason that they were villains, and they were the main reason they were against the Avengers, and they didn't have a single confrontation with Stark about it. I just thought.
I see your point. I guess
they built it up, and there was no payoff, and that annoys me. But anyway, you can listen to 2 episodes ago if you want to hear my problems with that film. But I don't want to keep going over the same things. So yeah, I think it will probably be Black Panther that has that role.
Yeah.
But another reason why is if you big up Black Panther in this really big role, people are going to start liking him because he's going to be a main character, and that just happens. People like the main characters of films, just the way it works. And then that's going to sell more tickets for the Black Panther film. Whereas you do that to Spider-Man. Spider-Man's already going to sell tickets. If I hate to take away from the creative side of these things and look at it as a business sometimes, but sometimes you do just have to. And I'm sure, the producers are having this kind of input. Kevin Feige is having to look at the dollar bills at the end of the day. So this is the I'm just playing devil's advocate in that they're going to have to be looking at the creative process as a business process as well. So if we want to get to the bottom of what's happening, I'm going to kind of try and do that as well. So I don't want you guys to think that I just hate creativity and love business, but at the end of the day, Spider-Man's going to make money already.
Oh,
it's
without
Spider-Man,
doubt.
and it's Spider-Man in the MCU. Black Panther, probably not as much of a sure thing. So
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And if you look at the fact that Wakanda not only was mentioned but was visited in Age of Ultron, the fact that some of those screenshots or some of those behind the scenes stuff we spoke about last week looked like it could have been set in Wakanda. I mean, that's how they're going to build up Black Panther. They said they're not really doing origins stories anymore with Spider-Man, Black Panther, Doctor Strange. They said they're not doing origin stories anymore. So I mean that makes perfect sense if they're using this opportunity to really build up Black Panther. So I mean I totally see that being a thing. But while we're talking about Civil War, did you want to talk? Should we move on to the other bit of Civil War news that's been released?
Yeah, let's do it.
So basically the other bit, I suppose it's not really new news, it's more a re-evaluation of news we've already spoke about. But that's been Martin Freeman, the other person we've added to our Segue segment. But Martin Freeman, before it was speculated that he could be Everett Ross, wasn't it? Being the most popular name that he could be. However, and this is a new report apparently is it by Latino Review? It first come from?
Nope. It's come from Heroic Hollywood, or was it Latino Review?
That's the thing, yeah, because Heroic Hollywood is saying a new report by Latino Review. So I
believe. In that case, yeah, it would have been Kelvin from Latino Review.
Yeah, but basically they're saying that Freeman's character might now be named someone called Edward Chase, who is a yet to be introduced Prime Minister of England in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which totally not something I saw coming. The Prime Minister of England getting involved in
I love it,
Marvel Civil War, but yeah, it's cool because Civil War, even though it was a civil war, so it takes place in America, the Avengers, as something like Fjargin that kept emphasising with Age of Ultron, is they wanted to show the world impact of the Avengers.
Yeah, and I mean, we've already seen London have some fallout from superheroes in Thor 2.
Thor 2, yeah. And then we had several places, Wakanda, I can't remember exactly where it was, I forget every time. Some place I think was either in Japan or China, I completely forget every single week, but that also happened in Age of Ultron. So many different places have been affected by the superheroes ongoing.
Sokovia most significantly.
Sokovia as well, yeah. I always forget Sokovia as well, I don't know why, it's like the main setting for it. But these places have had massive effects, and also, there was that scene in Age of Ultron as well, where Ulysses Claw.
Ulysses Claw.
Why do I even try these names? Like, why do I even try? But
you can't get McConaughey, you're not going to get Ulysses.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he was speaking on the phone to someone, and they said, was it like speak to the minister or wait to hear from the minister? Yeah, so that could easily be the Prime Minister.
Absolutely.
So, but no, I think that's going to be.
And it's this whole thing as well, where I think they mentioned it in this article, where the world's going to want to be protecting themselves from not necessarily superheroes but supervillains. That they're going to want, if the Avengers are busy, they're going to want a Avengers-style weapon on their side. And what better way to get that than with a big old supply of vibranium? And where else are you going to get your vibranium, as we learned in Age of Ultron? Wakanda.
Exactly. I'm liking it. It's tying into a nice little package. And I think, to be honest, Martin Freeman he's going to do a much better job, I think, playing maybe a what's the word for the sort of character where they're doing something wrong, but they haven't a spineless sort of prime minister. I think that's the best way. I think he's going to do a much better job doing that than the before thought of being Everett Ross. I think. Yeah. I can see him being that sort of character a lot better, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how everything plays together. I'm excited to see it.
At the end of the day, again, this is still all rumourville, so it could come out tomorrow that he's playing some, complete different character.
Yeah.
Could be playing Adam Warlock for all.
Imagine that Martin Freeman as Adam Warlock.
Oh god.
But what makes me laugh though is we're hearing all these rumours about Civil War, and to be honest, obviously I don't want too many rumours to come out and ruin the film for myself. But we have not heard anything about Baron Zemo, like Daniel Bruhl. Like, other than knowing he's the main villain, which kind of confused. Like, I'm kind of worried because other than the fact that Civil War's got a lot of characters into it, I thought the main focus was going to be this whole Cap Iron Man thing, and now they've got a main villain as well.
Well,
I'm worried there's going to be.
You could take this main villain as the new Avengers chasing down Hydra leads. They're chasing down, without Cap, this Baron Zemo. Is it Zemo?
Yeah, Baron Zemo.
And then in Nitro style, he blows up a school.
Yeah. Well,
That could be what he does. It could be that. That still, to me, kind of says main villain, and then they kind of wrap it up. Then after the Civil War's over, they finalize it. But then that could be what triggers the whole Civil War.
Possibly, although I literally, as you started talking, I had a little brainwave of what it could be. It was, remember before I was saying about Frank Grillo, Brock Rumlow, Brock Rumlow, I should say, as Crossbones. I had a thought that he could be the person who instigates it, trying to get revenge on Cap for Winter Soldier. I feel like he instigates it, and I feel like it's going to be in Wakanda, and I feel that's going to be like kickstart off like the Avengers are a threat to the world. Anyway, Civil War starts happening. Cap's got his team, Iron Man's got his team. They're fighting, blah 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 blah. But as like in the Civil War main story arc and all the tie-in issues, whenever there was a problem, both Iron Man's team and Cap's team would turn up to fight it. However, like either they'd get there and Cap's team had already done it, or Cap's team wouldn't bother because they know Iron Man's team's already there. Like even though they are hiding from Tony Stark and Tony Stark was trying to hunt them down, they still, at least until maybe towards the end when it got a bit too hectic, near the start they were still out there fighting crime. Still, that's when they realised that Cap first still had a resistance, because they came up a bunch of bad guys tied up, and they realised Cap can't be in this many places at once, and they were like, crap, he's got a team, like he's got people working for him. And I think that's going to be it. Baron Zemo's causing trouble, and I think both teams are going to be trying to fight him. But then, like at the end of the fight, Cap's team amscrays out of there before Tony Stark can arrest them all. Like the whole thing, like I think it's like in the first Spider-Man film, where he's like, there's something like the Green Goblin's pretending to be an old woman inside that fire, and he's like, I'm gonna go save her, and he's like, I'll be waiting here when you get back, and he's like, I'm not coming back, and he's like, I'll go anyway to save her. I bet it's gonna be like that. Like they're both fighting Baron Zemo. And like Iron Man wants to arrest him, and they're like, seriously, you're going to arrest us now while this guy's doing all this stuff? And they're like, fine. They work together, and then sort of like, go, you've got a free pass, get out of here, like that kind of. I think it might be like that kind of thing.
I've also mentioned this before briefly, but remember, just because this one's called Civil War doesn't mean the Civil War is going to end in this film.
True. Like I'm hoping that happens.
We could get to like Doctor Strange, and they might just be. While Cap and Iron Man might not be in it, they still might be talking about the Civil War. There still might be characters in it that are fighting in this Civil War. This could just be the start of it, and they've got to deal with some stuff that to do with Baron Zemo. And we could end, and the war's still going on. It could just be the start of this next phase could feature different parts of that war.
Yeah. And also, like another thought I just had as well. Like I'm not going to say like by this point, if you haven't read Civil War and you're like listening to us talk about the film Civil War coming out, then you're sort of open to spoilers. But I won't spoil it anyway, just in case. So I won't say what side won in the comics. But for argument's sake, let's just say in the film, Tony Stark's
Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl won. Yeah. Let's just say that Tony Stark's Superhero Registration Act won, and it came to pass. Maybe the fighting ends at the end of Civil War, but the outcome is still seen. So then in Doctor Strange Black Panther, the Superhuman Registration Act is still in force. Or maybe Capsize wins and it's thrown out, but people like Iron Man are kind of outcast now. Like they're like, you were this and you were that. So maybe the film does end, but the ramifications just last throughout all the films. Like I still feel the ramifications are going to be felt at the start of Infinity War.
Absolutely, yeah.
In a sense, I feel like maybe that's why Thanos is going to get to do as much as he does, because they're not working together. Like maybe if Cap and Iron Man just sat there and like bumped heads and been like exchanged information, they would have realised that he has XYZ Infinity Stones and ABC. Like if they had just spoke, they could have stopped this from happening.
I also like the idea that they've been burning these Infinity Gems in our minds since
since
Captain America.
Yeah, I think that was the first one with the Tesseract. Like they might have mentioned it sooner, but
so they've been burning these Infinity Gems in our minds since then. I like the idea that we get Phase 3, we just forget about them. They mention one here, one there. Other than that, we're just talking about Civil War, Civil War, Civil War. So it's kind of like when Infinity War rocks up, we're kind of like, oh god, yeah, I forgot all about that. Oh my god, how could I forget that? Our problems just got in the way. Maybe that's what they're going to be going for. It's going to be like you said, that the ramifications overshadow, it's like the problems of the Civil War overshadows the bigger problems, so they have to put their differences aside. It could be that kind of thing, which
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
Like, exactly. They might want to make us forget about it to make it look like the superheroes have forgotten about it. So
Yeah.
like we're like, oh crap, yeah, we forgot about them, and that's exactly what Cap's gonna be like, and Iron Man, like, oh man, we took our eye off the prize here. Like, we can completely forgot the main focus, the bigger enemy. Because obviously, like in Age of Ultron, they set it up heavily. Like they had another gem introduced. Thor spoke about it, and that's what was also cool. Is this the reason is why Thor has left? So that's why he's not going to be here at Civil War. Because obviously in the comics, Thor at that point was deceased, and obviously we all know, like in all superheroes, that he comes back. But at that point, he was deceased. He was dead. So that's why he wasn't a part of Civil War. Because if you look at like the main Avengers, even though it's not the initial group, the main Avengers like Cap, Iron Man, Thor. Even in the comics, it's always been like them three, the little buddy trio. Like it's always, like every time they make a new team, like Cap and Iron Man will stand there and they'll be like, obviously Thor. Like it's just like the guy who gets like a mention about Shadow of a Doubt. So I think that's cool. They've given him a reason to leave, and they've given him a reason not to be there, not through his own choice, just because something's happened. And obviously he's gonna get 4-3 come out and whatever. But it's cool. So I think if Thor was there, he'd be like, no, stupid humans, like remember the big threat here. But because he's not there, I think it just sets the thing perfectly for them to get focused on themselves and completely forget the bigger picture. But yeah, man, it's gonna be cool.
It really, there's no arguing that.
Yeah, I'm so worried. I'm really worried I'm gonna see it and just be like, what? Like, really? This is what's happened? But I right now I have faith in them. Like, such a big film. They've really. This seems like a bigger film than any of the Avengers films. It really does. Like when I first heard, like before Phase 3 was announced and we were rumors what it was gonna be, I thought the third Avengers film was gonna be a Civil War. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be. Like, let's face it, this has got a bigger cast list than the Avengers films have had.
Yeah,
like, main cast. Like,
it's interesting.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But yeah, we were saying about like other ones like Doctor Strange and Black Panther and stuff. But on the note of Doctor Strange, that could lead us into that Netflix news we're going to talk about. Because I know he isn't a Netflix; he's a cinema one. But there was something about Doctor Strange in relation to the Netflix news.
Yes, there was
something I wanted to talk about. But so basically, the big news, which was something Heroic Hollywood, obviously links all in the description.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. You've probably heard us mention on the show before. Well, I know you've probably definitely heard me mention it. I talk about him all the time. But one of my favourite kind of scoop droppers and Hollywood journalists out there is Humberto Gonzalez, or El Mayimbe, who formerly worked for Latino Review. He's now set up his own site called Heroic Hollywood, and they're basically going to be covering all scoops and movie news surrounding superheroes as well as other heroes like James Bond, Star Wars, things like that. So if you guys are fans of that sort of thing, which I'm guessing you probably are, then definitely go and follow Heroic Hollywood on Twitter. Go and follow El Mayimbe on Twitter. Go to the Heroic Hollywood website. You will not regret it. They started on Monday, the 1st of June, which is a few days ago as of recording this. So they're still relatively new. So if you like jumping on a bandwagon as soon as possible, you can do that. But they've already dropped a couple of big scoops in regard to DC stuff. What they've dropped, though, is a potential spoiler for the film, so we won't talk about it here. But you can always, if you're not too worried about those spoilers, you can always go check it out for yourselves on Heroic Hollywood. But before we quickly talk about this article that they dropped, I just want to briefly mention, they dropped this really cool kind of infographic picture kind of thing, just documenting all, I think it's 41 superhero films that are going to be coming out, I think, as of 2015, right up till 2020 or whatever it is, and you can see all the dates on there of all the films coming out from Marvel, DC, again like Fox, Sony, all that good stuff is all on there. So definitely go and check that out.
Yeah, and while Tommy was talking about that, I'm assuming Future Dave has probably put that visual on the screen for you guys to look at. If in doubt, links are in the description for all this stuff, including that calendar. But it's pretty cool because it's, as you said, it's not just Marvel and DC, it's everything, all the independent films, and it's amazing. Like, especially the years, 2016 onwards, it's just insane. 2016, 2018 has a jammed packed schedule of movies. It's insane. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 a year. Or 8 in 2016 at least. And that's including stuff like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. So
which is comic book.
Yeah, exactly. So it's covering everything. But man, like it's really cool to look at. So that's gonna be on the screen now. Hopefully, if in doubt, links in the description. You can read up about it as well. And as Tommy says, and he has got me onto Heroic Hollywood as well and LVA. Stuff like that. So like definitely go check him out. Like my Twitter feed is literally just him dropping superhero movie scoops.
That's where we get all these rumors and scoops from most of the time. I mean, you probably do as well. If you see IGN or some big company like that post an article about a rumor, potentially this guy's going to be in that, chances are if you look down the if they've credited properly, you'll see it used to would have been El Mayimbe of Latino Review drops. Now it's going to be El Mayimbe of Heroic Hollywood drops. So if you want to get there first, if you want to skip the middleman and you want to get that news as quick as possible, Heroic Hollywood is going to be the place you want to follow.
Yeah, I'd say at very least 50% of all the stuff we talk about we get from there. Like anytime you've gone breaking news, it's always been from your man. So,
from my man.
But anyway, yeah. So like moving on, the scoop that they dropped for us, and it was like their first big Marvel thing I think they dropped since running, and that was basically Marvel Studios Netflix Phase 2, which for me is fantastic, because as much as I love movies, and Tommy, you're a huge movie guy, I'm a TV guy. I love my TV series, like I love them so much. So Phase 2 for Netflix is something I'm ecstatic about. Bear in mind that so far it's just been Daredevil, but the whole Defenders thing and all that stuff that's going to be coming out, I'm so excited for all that. So to hear there's a Phase 2, I think it's brilliant. I am so happy to hear this. But so for the stuff they were mentioning about, it's nothing really set in stone. It just seems to be more of a shuffling around. Whereas before, the initial stuff was Daredevil, you got AKA Jessica Jones that's coming out later this year, and then Luke Cage next year, possibly. Nothing's really been cast yet, but Iron Fist later that year, followed up by the Defenders. That was the initial plan. It seems to be, from looking at this article, and there's always links in the description, it seems like Defenders has now been pushed back to 2017, with before that, like pushed into Phase 2, with before that it's coming Daredevil Season 2. There's also apparently the rumours for the Elektra Netflix series has been confirmed, at least the rumours, like the audition tapes and stuff like that. Apparently that's been confirmed. There's going to be an Elektra, and there's been talks of Punisher, Blade, and Ghost Rider. However, as it says here, it's been quite skeptical because a lot of that, mainly Blade and Ghost Rider, they go into the supernatural side of Marvel, which hasn't really been looked at too much so far. But possibly Punisher, I think, would be a good one. There's been a few people that say it might be a good idea if Punisher's a bad guy for the Defenders. Could be quite good. But yeah, and the other thing is they've said they're looking at trying to get some of the bigger actors, people like Doctor Strange, maybe Hawkeye, Black Widow. They would love to get people like that to have just a cameo or a limited run into the Netflix series, just to fully link the universe together, because the TV side, like Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff like that, always reacts to what's happened in the movies. However, the movies have never reacted to anything that happens in the TV show. And I mean, to a certain extent that makes sense, because it's a TV show, because less worldwide stuff happens. So it kind of makes sense, but I think they just want to have one of these big actors like Doctor Strange, like Benedict Cumberbatch, or maybe Jeremy Renner or Scarlett Johansson, just to appear in one of these Netflix shows, just to fully fledge that, yes, these two things are linked together. I mean, the nearest thing I guess you could say that is Samuel Jackson, or the fact that Agent Coulson being the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, that's the only thing you could really say has linked it together. Other than that, it's always been side characters like Lady Sif from Thor appearing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. twice now, I believe. So, and that's basically sort of the hopes they're looking at. They're definitely saying that they've got Elektra that should be coming. Defenders have been pushed back to make way for some other stuff, and they're just kind of, I think they're just kind of hoping to get, and I can't remember, I can't actually see it here, but yeah, right now they're pulling hard for Doctor Strange to appear in the Defenders series, which would be awesome, because Doctor Strange is one of those characters who, even though he is on an Avengers scale, he is also on this street level scale, like Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, Spider-Man. Like, Doctor Strange has always been in their kind of group, working with them. And I believe Doctor Strange was in a group called the Defenders, like the original one.
Yeah.
With was it Namor
Silver
and Hulk?
Surfer and Yeah, Silver Surfer, Namor, and Hulk.
Yeah, so which is such a weird group to put together, but yeah, Doctor Strange
Really
was
weird.
originally in that, so it would be cool if they could. It's just a matter of getting someone of like the caliber of Benedict Cumberbatch to be in a Netflix TV series.
The guy's
but-
not shy from TV shows. He does the Sherlock on BBC.
True, and let's face it, Netflix has become this real niche like market for like these big actors to do really awesome
Yeah,
stuff.
so I briefly wanted to mention about this TV stuff. I know ABC, the network that Disney own and that Shield runs on in America, they're not too happy about the whole Netflix thing because of the success Daredevil's been getting as opposed to Shield, and that is, I just want to shine a bit of light on that. That's kind of down to the fact that the way a network show is run as opposed to the way a Netflix show's run, very, very different things. And I'll tell you why briefly. So I think I've spoken something similar to the way Netflix stuff's run before, but I'll go back over it anyway. Basically, with a network show, they to go through like an overall for all network shows, you shoot a pilot, you show it to the network, they'll say yes, they'll say no, they'll order probably 6 episodes. If that 6 episodes go well, they'll order a full series, which could be 13, could be 24, something like that. And then if that goes well, they'll order a season 2 in the same way. They might order a full season, they might order 6, or they might order a 13. It could be like that. And then they'll give a budget and they'll say, this is your budget for the whole season, make this season. And then they'll write it and then they'll shoot it and they'll put that episode up. And they may have an idea of how that story is going to go for the season, but episode for episode is written the week before, basically. And that's why you get this thing. You'll probably notice it now that I've said it, but you'll get what's called occasionally you'll get what's called a bottleneck episode, which is where they've basically run out of money, so they have to shoot an episode based as best they can based on sets that they've already got and contracts they've already got. So did you watch Breaking Bad, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay, so you may remember an episode called The Fly.
Oh God, yes.
That's a bottleneck episode
because
they can only shoot it in one location, which is, as you know, it was the lab, right?
And his bedroom, I guess.
And there's only 2 actors in that episode, and that's Heisenberg. The 2 characters are Heisenberg and Jesse, which is I'm forgetting their names.
Aaron Paul and
Bryan Cranston. Right, so they're contracted to work on every episode anyway, so it doesn't cost any extra to have them there. You've only got one location, so you don't need to mess around with schedules, and you don't need to mess around with building sets or shooting on location. And then you've got a very limited script that sets it in that one place. That's how network runs, so you have to slow down potentially the whole season for that. Personally, that was one of my favourite episodes of Breaking Bad, and it was directed by Rian Johnson, who's doing Star Wars Episode 8. Just wanted to segue that there because I can, because I love Star Wars. That's kind of how that works. Whereas Netflix, on the other hand, they're typically smaller, so 13 episodes as we know for Daredevil, and they're all written as one long thing and shot as one long thing, kind of like a very long film, which is why it's kind of working better for audiences and critics in general, that Daredevil just worked. It
really
just
did.
works better as a Netflix show, and I think these other things are as well. And I think the days of network television's kind of over, and I think that's why shows like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. haven't got much life left.
Which is a shame, because I enjoy Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's a different kind of show, isn't it? It's a different kind of like enjoyment to it.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has the same feel to it as the movies do. And Daredevil has a completely
It has its own
different-
thing,
yeah.
which
And
I prefer. I prefer that it's taking its own direction.
That's what makes me laugh about like these television companies and stuff like that. Is they all look at they look at Daredevil, they look at Netflix, like, oh man, they're doing really well. They did really great with that. They were able to do this. They were able to do that. How are they having so much more success with us? And then people go to create their shows, and then they go, no, you can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do that. We want this. We want this. We want that. And then go, why is this other person's show doing so much better? It's because you keep restricting everything.
Yeah.
Like, you go, no, we're doing it this way. And then you're shocked when your show doesn't do as great as somebody else's. And it's like, maybe you should stop tying the hands of the people that...
It's because it's just network television. It just works that way. And I think Kevin Feige's having a lot more faith now that he's seen what Daredevil can do. And that's why I think he's going to be pulling his weight a bit more when it comes to hiring people like Benedict Cumberbatch to work on those shows, even for as briefly as 1, 2, 3 episodes. Whereas I think he kind of doesn't care as much about Agents of Shield, honestly. I do.
Well, we got the same approach from Joss Whedon as well, didn't we? So.
Oh god, don't even get me started on that old can of worms. But yeah, that's just kind of an insight to how network television works and Netflix stuff works. So if you do ever see these articles and stuff, you guys can kind of have a bit more of an understanding behind it.
And also as well, if you just look at the sheer announcement for the fact Netflix Phase 2, have we got Agents we've got Agents of Shield Season 2, but have we had any other TV programs even mentioned to do with network television? No, not at all. Other than Agents of Shield, nothing's ever been rumoured that I know of.
Peggy, Agent Carter.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. See, like that, I forgot about that because they didn't. Network didn't even pick it up in England. Like I haven't seen that yet because like no network in England even bothered picking up that show, which I really want to watch it. Huh?
Not a single network picked up Breaking Bad.
Yeah, true.
And it was one of the most successful shows of all time, just from Netflix. Netflix is just ahead of the curve right now. They're working in such a better way, and I think it's gonna the next 10 years. I know it's a long time, but the next 10 years, TV is gonna be very different.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. Right.
I'd be much happier if they just did it the Netflix way. No scheduling, no like we need it done by X at a time. Just like do it, put them all. Like I love that Daredevil put it all up at once. I absolutely loved that. That was amazing. So good, and I think that also stops people getting bored and not coming back to it a week later.
Yeah,
because you'll be like, man, I'll give the other one another go now. Like if there's one episode you weren't a fan of, you'll just be like, oh, I'll just watch the next one, see if it gets better. If you wait a week,
my problem with it was I had to binge watch it. I finished it in 2 days because I was just worried about spoilers.
Oh yeah, true.
I watched 12 episodes in 1 day, fell asleep, and watched the 13th the next day, just purely because I do want to go on Twitter in that time, just in case I saw a spoiler.
Yeah. Plus, you want to watch the last episode or two with a fresh brain, so you get to enjoy it, and you're not like completely zoned out.
Yeah, frazzed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I watched it in about a day and a half, 2 days, just because I wanted to. Like, there was no way I was not going to. I had so much work to do at that time as well, and I was just like, nope, Daredevil's got to be done. It's got to be done. But yeah, there was actually one other thing I wanted to say about the Netflix like Daredevil sort of side, like, and it was what you were saying about the TV and Agents of Shield and stuff like that. Is the thing that's going on, at least right now in Agents of Shield, is they're got this storyline going on with the Inhumans right now. It's a huge storyline with the Inhumans. Of course, the Inhumans film isn't scheduled until 2019, and the thing that it says here in this article, and it's something that I was been wondering this entire time, is 2019. That's 4 years away, or 3.5 if you want to be picky. But like it's 4 years away, and it's like they're not going to keep this storyline going for 4 years. And then when they do eventually get to the Inhumans in the cinematic universe, they are not going to relate it back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the slightest.
Oh, nope.
Yeah, and it's in a sense it's a shame. Like that's the sort of stuff that's going to destroy the immersion. Because like right now, you got every time like when Thor happened, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. they're cleaning up the mess from Thor 2, and you're like, that's awesome. Just recently, Coulson was like, I found where Baron Strucker's hiding, sending the Avengers. Then the Avengers film starts, and then the next one they're talking about Ultron. So it's cool, like it links. But that's the problem with our saying where it doesn't go back the other way. Where now they've been dealing with the Inhumans, are we going to see like a Skye, Daisy Johnson from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Inhumans film? I very much doubt it. The person who's leading the Inhumans right now isn't Black Bolt. But bear in mind, she's leading this group of Inhumans. For all we know, there might be more Inhumans elsewhere. But like the woman who's leading the Inhumans in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Bolt's never been mentioned once. They haven't mentioned Inhumans being anywhere else on Earth or off planet yet. So it's like it's one thing that might break the immersion.
The thing I'll be interested to see is because let's face it, no one watches S.H.I.E.L.D. who doesn't watch the films. Whereas there's a huge number of people that watch the films and don't watch the show. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'd be interested in seeing the numbers on how many people watch the films and Daredevil as opposed to not. Because if Daredevil pops up in Civil War in like a post-credit scene, how many people will go like, oh yeah, it's Daredevil from the show, I love that show. And how many people will go, who's that? Like I think if they did that with Daredevil as opposed to a character from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the reactions are going to be significantly different, which is why I think that the Netflix model and the Phase 2 and Kevin Feige's involvement is gonna be heavily influenced and changed, and that's why I think I think the Benedict Cumberbatch thing, to swing back to that, is going to be quite a likely outcome, as well as Daredevil being in the film soon.
So like looking at like, the way you describe that, a few things cross my mind. It's like Agents of Shield, I think, got a lot more press and a lot more publicity when it comes to the TV stuff. It's on adverts on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil, I feel like if you didn't know where to look, you wouldn't have seen it advertised. Like if you're not on Netflix, where would you have seen that advertised? Maybe unless on like on a poster somewhere. It's like I can't remember seeing it advertised that much. I think it maybe once or twice it was advertised on TV, because Netflix does get advertised on TV. It gets its adverts, and then that Netflix advert would be Daredevil. Fair enough, but in that same vein, I feel like people who are unaware of what's going on would be more likely to watch Daredevil than they watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because Daredevil, they're like, oh, that's the superhero, that's Daredevil, I know who that is. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're going to be a bit like, okay, what's that about? Like,
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I can see why they'd watch Daredevil. You say about TV or Netflix people being in movies, if you haven't watched Daredevil and Daredevil's put in it, you'll be like, hey, it's Daredevil! Like, that's Daredevil, I recognise that name. Like, even if you haven't watched it, you'll be like, that's cool.
Ben Affleck's in this film?
Yeah, exactly. But I thought he was Batman. But if they put in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into a Marvel film, they'll be like, who the hell are they? Because they're characters that were introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. other than Coulson. Like, the only way I could see them, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. going into the movie, is if Coulson makes an appearance again. And they're like, and he'll be like, in his smug way.
He was dead in the films.
Yeah, in his smug way, you'll be like, I've got my team working on it. And then all the people of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will be like, huh! And all the people who don't watch it will be like, okay, he's got a team working on it. So, like...
I thought he was dead.
Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, that's the thing, yeah, because if you don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you don't know he's alive yet, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing, I can't see him being put back into the movies, which is a shame,
No.
but...
No.
Hey-ho, anyway. Where do you want to move on to next? There's a few other things I know you're very happy to talk about. Star Wars? Star Wars
Well,
is... See, that's where I was first going to go when you went on to Guardians way back at the start. I was going to go on to Star Wars. But yeah, let's move on to Star Wars now. So there's two Star Wars stuff going on, isn't there? So
yeah, well, I kind of segued to Star Wars from the Ryan Johnson thing. I got there. But
yeah, go on,
okay. So
you take the run with this. You know far more about Star Wars than I do.
Okay, so this week we've got a fair few things crop up from Star Wars. One of them actually from somewhere near and dear to my heart. As you may know, I run a show on the Schmoes Know YouTube channel called Schmotunes. And on the schmoesknow.com, they've got just schmoesknow.com. It's like a news website. I write there sometimes. But they actually, so I was saying earlier about how Latino Review, El Mayembe, who write Hollywood, break scoops. Well, Schmoes Know do as well sometimes, and this week they got a big Star Wars one, so it put a big smile on my face. And this is apparently okay. Let's talk about this. So we've got the main 7, 8, 9.
Sensitive bladder. Try new, always discreet.
The original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. We've got those films coming out: Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 9. Episode 7 being The Force Awakens. That's going to be the first new Star Wars film under the Disney banner. Then we've also got the spin-off films, as that was called before. Now they're known as the anthology films. So the first one there is going to be called Rogue One, and that's going to be set around between Episode 3 and Episode 4, and it's about how the first plans to the Death Star was stolen. So there was a leaked bit of footage from that from Star Wars Celebration, and then it kind of came out from. I'm just trying to remember the source. I think it was Jeff Snyder from TheWrap.com reported that the next anthology film after that one, which would come out after Episode 8, which is the one directed by Ryan Johnson. So after that, the next anthology film will be a Boba Fett spin-off film, basically. No one knew whether it was going to be an origin story or a sequel or what it was going to be. But now Schmoes Know are reporting that it's actually going to... It looks like, again, it's just a rumour, but it looks like Han Solo and Boba Fett are going to both be in this film. And it's looking like it's going to be a young Han Solo, a young Boba Fett, living their lives, doing their thing, whatever. But it's something to be excited about. It's good to see these characters, revisited, re-explored, and, gone into more depth on, and all things like that. It just worries me about casting. Obviously that stuff's going to come out near the time, but Harrison Ford is and always will be my Han Solo. So I'm just going to be a bit skeptical about who the new one will be. This is way off. This is like 2019 off. So we need to worry about that then, not now. But it's just the news that's out there. That's what we've got from Star Wars.
And obviously, as a huge Star Wars fan, this is making you very giddy.
It is. I'm having trouble collecting my thoughts. I hope that came out as words and not just
Well,
babbles.
I feel like I need to apologise. You probably didn't hear this, but everyone listening to it did. I went on to the site I've linked in the description, the Schmonos thing, and as you were very first start talking about it, a nice advert for bladder control came up, and very loudly was like, if you have trouble with bladder control, so I quickly clicked off of it as soon as possible. So about 5 seconds of what you were talking about right at the start may have been interrupted by a bladder control advert. So I feel like I need to apologise. Yeah, it's kind of strangely fitting for the mood it's put you in.
It's true. You're not wrong. But anyway, also in going back to the episode 7, the first Star Wars film we got coming out, which is really going to set the tone for what Disney do. Because if we get another like Phantom Menace style prequel film out of it, which I really don't think we will, but if we do, I've been hurt before by Star Wars, so I'm not going to hold my breath. If this film doesn't work, then I'm going to start being worried. But from what I've seen so far, it's looking good. And if we've seen something new, this time actually coming from StarWars.com, I was telling you earlier, Dave, how rare it is to see the official like film site or whatever dropping the news before these Hollywood journalists get to it.
you kind of forget that that's what they do sometimes. Like
information
about their film. Like.
I'd obviously heard about this. So I was trying to find it so I could get the link up ready to send to Dave, and I was going, I can't find where the original source is, and then I finally found out that it was just StarWars.com that they were the first to drop this. But anyway, I haven't even spoken about what it is yet. The first character name and the first picture has dropped, kind of, for who Andy Serkis will be playing in this Star Wars film. So we heard his voice as the narrator voiceover for the first teaser trailer that came out. What was that, December? Last December. There has been an awakening. Can you feel it? That was
that
Serkis.
one. Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I was thinking there's a lot more recent, but no, of course, yeah, the original teaser.
Yeah, no, the first teaser. So that was Andy Serkis. It was confirmed afterwards, and a lot of people were wondering, is he going to be his face in this one? Because obviously in Age of Ultron he showed his face again, and he has done face roles before. But what he's most known for is obviously Gollum, is obviously King Kong, and most recently Caesar in the Rise and Dawn of Planet of the Apes films.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the mocap guy. He's the king of that side of acting, because it really is acting. A lot of people discredit it, whereas if you look at this picture that was released, I'm sure Dave may have put that up now. Dave?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, future Dave. / past Dave if you're listening to this now. / present Dave if you're editing this right now.
Yeah, Dave in the future that's edited this, he will smile, he'll be happy.
Anyway, you can see this picture and the get-up that he's kind of wearing for this. There's, a dozen or so cameras surrounding him looking at his face. There's one attached to his head looking directly at his face. There's, tens of dots all over his face, picking up every movement and stuff like that. And sure, that's going to be slightly enhanced by the animators, but he's still acting and he's still really giving it his best. And as we've seen in those Dawn films, I really think he should have been nominated for Best Actor in that, personally. I think it still is acting, but that's all, up in the air with the Academy. The Academy's still kind of dated in that. That's a different conversation for a different time, I think.
And you got a thing as well, like, it takes a bit more skill as well to a certain extent, because when you're just acting and you're acting, you've got a free reign. You can move within a certain boundaries, you can do different things, like you can tilt your head, you can switch your hair back, do whatever you like. He's kind of restricted in a sense, like he has to sit in a set spot so all the cameras are focused at the right point, yet still be able to act with I don't know how far he can even move his head with that thing on. Like, if he's angry, he's got to be angry and show it on his face, yet not be able to move a muscle. Like, is that how it is? Like, I know, obviously you can do motion capture in movement.
I think this is probably just what this scene requires, because he could actually, in actual fact, be out on set in that get-up. He could be running around and doing all things like that.
I knew you can motion capture in that sense, like moving around, but I just meant based off this, like.
But yeah, this makes me think, what's his character going to do? Oh, so I didn't mention the character's name that they announced was Supreme Leader Snoke, which, you know, love it or I hate it, it's better than Captain Phasma, which was another name announced for, you know, the new Star Wars film. So I much prefer this name. But, you know, it makes me think, if he's sitting down like this, and he's obviously a villain. If you look at that face, he's staring into my soul right now. That's a villain's face.
No, he's on Star Wars Kids TV, he is.
Yeah. But,
Hoff's #1 TV channel.
There's been speculation that if you look in the second teaser trailer, the one Dave mentioned that was a bit more recently, there's a frame there when all the stormtroopers turn around and they're on like an icy planet. I won't say Hoth because everyone thought that main sandy planet was Tatooine, but it turned out to be Jakku. So I won't say Hoth because it could be anywhere. There's a hooded figure on the stage. There's been a lot of speculation to who that might be, and obviously right now the person talking has good authority on that because I went through that trailer frame by frame and recreated it for Schmotunes, so I can attest to that. But there's speculation that is Supreme Leader Snoke, but you know, who knows what it could be, if it's all, you know, going to be CGI and motion captured, and if he's sitting down, is the character just sitting down? Does he need to always be sitting down? Does he have legs? You know, it could be anything. It's an alien, for goodness sake. So I'm really interested to see who this character is going to become.
Yeah, it could, as you say, that's one of the wonders of doing like motion capture and CGI and stuff. It could become anyone. Like, there isn't a restriction. Like, if you see a behind the scenes thing of him standing there wearing a cape or a cloak or something, you're like, well, he's at least a human character. Like, you know roughly where they're going. But right now, he could be anything. Like, it could be motion capture on a human character, but it's like covered in like cybernetics, almost like a Darth Vader without a mask. It could be he's the new Jabba the Pizza Hut. Like, we don't know. Like, he could go anywhere. And I think that's what's one of the awesome things about this sort of stuff as well. Plus, it's just future, man. It's just future badassery, like future and technology, and it's just cool. And it's just awesome. I love this sort of stuff.
A lot of people are saying how they don't want too much CGI in the new Star Wars film because it may be what ruined the prequels and stuff like that.
True.
And I think JJ already has shown that he's really going heavily practical with this film. I mean, the robot BB-8 is a fully functioning robot. It came out on stage at Star Wars Celebration. So I think we are going to get a lot of practical. But it just shows that just because CGI was overused in the prequels doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I think we're going to see it used well, and I think that's what is going to make the difference. There's definitely a difference between a lot of, you know, CGI and good use of CGI and well balanced CGI, you know. So I think don't worry about it, is what I'm saying. Don't stress out because it's going to be a CGI character. Don't worry. I'll tell you what would be interesting though, if he just looked like that. If that's just his like alien get up, he has spots on his face and he just wears a funny triangle suit.
He turns out he's just like the mad jester of the dark side. Like,
yeah,
he's the Loki of the dark side. But no, like what you said about the technology and stuff, I think it's not used too much. It's used in the right places. So when you got the big cosmic battles and like that sort of stuff, like CGI. But like it's great. Like imagine how much of a riot it would have been if they made Chewbacca now fully CGI. Like at one point you can look at it going, he looks like a Kardashian right now. Like I'm looking at the picture on the Star Wars page. I'll put it up now. Where like his lips, you're like, oh, like it looks like when someone's got a bit too much Botox. But it's cool Chewbacca. It's the Chewbacca everyone's expected. If they had made him CGI, it would have been an uproar. It would have been pandemonium. But no, it's like, I think like if you look at stuff like, I mean, obviously it's nowhere near the scale of Star Wars. But look at something like Firefly. Like, that was cool because it was in space, but everything was low tech to a certain extent. It was really cool, and I think that's the sort of thing when you're looking at maybe like the interior of the ship or like the stuff they're using. That's the sort of stuff you want to look for, because I've always felt that as I say, I've never watched all the Star Wars, but I got the feeling from the clips that I have seen of Star Wars. You've got breaking news, haven't you?
No, you've never seen Star Wars?
I've mentioned this loads of times. I've never seen all of them. I keep meaning to binge watch them all. I think I have seen them like when I was little, like very, very little, and in drips and drabs. Like I get the main gist, but I think I've seen more parodies than I have actually seen the main things. I do need to binge watch them one day. But
right,
anyway,
I'm gonna binge. I'm gonna sit you down. I'm gonna watch you watch them.
One of those things where your like nose is touching my cheek.
No. I'll put a chair next to your TV so you can watch that while I just watch you.
It will be like How I Met Your Mother when Ted's trying to get Stella into Star Wars and she sends him out of the room.
It'd be exactly like that. Yeah.
But no, I keep meaning like I've been saying it, but very recently I've been actually like seriously considering like I might actually sit and binge watch these. Not the
Please
prequels,
do.
I'm gonna have to. But from the bits I've seen, I've always felt like these ships have this old rustic kind of look to them. Like when we were saying about with Fallout, and like I was saying just now with Firefly, where it's more mechanical as opposed to technological. It's like it's this old beaten up ship that they're flying out into the whatever's with. Like it always felt like a bit more low key to a certain
George
extent.
Lucas
Cool.
revolutionized sci-fi when he did that in 1977. Star Wars was one of the first sci-fi universes, to look lived in. Before that, it was all like Jetsons, like high-tech utopia, everything. George Lucas was the first one to say like, no, they've had this technology for hundreds of years. It's all a bit rustic and a bit worn down now. He was the first one to do that. Star Wars revolutionized that. People got that from him.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect then. That's exactly like the point I was trying to get across. So the fact that just because it's futuristic technology doesn't mean it's new. Like
which is what annoyed people so much about the prequels.
Yeah.
Fair enough, it's closer to the time when they got that technology, but it still just all looked too new and too, CGI. It just looked too computer generated.
Yeah, because let's face it. Because even if it is new to us, to them it still was a course of over hundreds of years of slowly developing it better and better, just like it will be for our generation as we eventually progress further and further and further. Like, it will be, when they create something new, the old stuff will still be old. Like, it's not like you get everything new at once. It's now I knew this, now I knew that, and it's a slow progression, and that's why I like it when they make futuristic stuff look old and rickety. And that's the same, like, in a sense with Guardians, to a certain extent. Like, his ship, from the inside, looked old and beaten down. Like, it didn't look all brand spanking new on the inside. The paint was worn off, and that's the sort of stuff I thought was kind of cool. But
yeah,
no. Oh well, there we go. Fully agreed. Like they started the old rustic, futuristic look, and I need to watch Star Wars. That's the two takeaways we're taking from from this segment. But was there anything more you wanted to talk about Star Wars before we go to our last bit of news?
They announced that there's a new Star Wars game coming out. It's a mobile game, but
oh, really?
If it's been announced after the new Disney thing, it means everything in it's canon, which means I have to play it because I want to get all the story. So it means I'm going to be wasting my life on some mobile game I won't care about.
And do you know what? Disney loves mobile games, and that bugs me.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be wrong, I'm obsessed with this Spider-Man Unlimited game. I really am obsessed with it.
I got rid of that addiction as quick as I could.
Did you?
I was in there for a little while, yeah.
It gets really, really addictive. Oh yeah, I think you are actually on my leaderboard as well.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes sense that you got rid of it quick, because I was wondering why, like, when I surpassed your score, you didn't immediately try and beat me back. I was like, sat there, I thought, oh, this is going to infuriate Tommy. I just beat your score. I was wondering why you never tried to beat me back, but obviously that makes sense, because you probably never saw it.
Yeah, I uninstalled it and then chained myself to a radiator for 4 days to get away from it.
Getting the bends, getting the detox as you're going off it.
Yeah.
But, like, it bugs me. Like, as soon as Disney took the helm with Marvel, I mean, they were already doing it less and less anyway, but the games just went downhill, and they just, like, it's like 2 Marvel games released, like this. There's like a beat 'em up sort of game, like a Tekken kind of style game on the phone, and like you get the Spider-Man game, and then you get these other like bust the move like puzzle games, and then like you get all these other quick little Marvel games. Yet they just release freaking Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, like.
No, but the thing is with the Star Wars one is it's canon to the universe. So everything they mention in there happens in the history of the Star Wars universe now. So because they announced with the Disney deal, they said, right, Clone Wars and the films are canon. Everything else isn't. Everything else we release after this, every book, every sticker book, every game, everything from now on, every comic is canon. Which means I've got to read every book, I've got to read every comic, I've got to get every sticker book, and now I've got to get this stupid mobile game because it's Star Wars, and I'm an addict.
Man, that's hell. It's literally like saying, "Do you like this game? No, well, tough. You're gonna get it anyway." So,
yeah.
Man, that sucks.
But it is cool though, because we do get other cool stuff. Like in the new Star Wars Battlefront game, we're gonna learn about the Battle of Jakku and how that Star Destroyer ended up there, like we saw in the trailer. So we're gonna get to explore that kind of thing. And in that respect, I'm looking forward to this connected canon. Otherwise,
Well,
it's just overwhelming and kind of expensive.
I suppose, yeah, there's two ways you can look at it. You can either look at it and say, yeah, it's kind of cool, because like instead of playing a game and being like, that was awesome, and then the movie comes out and it sucks or something like that, you can play the game like, that was awesome, and then you can be like, and this story actually happens before this movie. So
Yeah.
it's like, will this actually have any effect? And the other thing you can look at is, before Disney took it, was there going to be another Star Wars film being made? Like, before Disney got the rights, like, was there ever going to be plans for another Star Wars film?
Oh no.
So like, that's the other way of looking at it. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not, we're getting this because of
Getting
Disney.
Star Wars, yeah,
Yeah, like-
and the thing is as well, which is kind of like, I hate to admit it now, it's kind of exciting because this game's it's going to be set in between episode 6 and episode 7. So I don't know what the release date is for this game, but if it comes out before a book called Star Wars Aftermath, it's actually going to be the first canon stuff we see of after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the first little look into this new universe that we see. So no, Aftermath, this book supposedly takes place like 30 seconds after the film ends, whereas obviously episode 7's 30 years. So obviously Aftermath's going to be important just to see what happens immediately. I'm not entirely sure where this mobile game Uprising sits in that timeline, but it will be exciting to fill in the gaps regardless of how much I hate the gameplay.
Sorry, I just choked on myself then. But yeah, when's this game come out? When's it?
I'm not sure. If you want to vamp for a moment.
Yep, I will vamp away while I look at Chewbacca's delicious lips on the Star Wars. Oh man, like ever since I've said that he looks like a Kardashian, now I'm not gonna be able to look at old Chewie the same.
Why don't you give us a little Wookiee roar that I know you're good at?
Joe, I was just thinking, when you said the vamp, I was like, how can I somehow turn this into a plausible reason for me to do Chewbacca's voice? Like, is there a way where this will make it look like I haven't on purposely made like this reason for it to happen? But I could always give out a Chewbacca roar, I guess. I mean, I know how much everyone on the Captain's Quarters loves to hear me do the impressions, which by the way is far more awkward now. My face is there as well. Like, I think I said it in the last one, I'd never actually done those impressions and actually seen what I look like as I do them. And I'm glad I've never had to do a Chewbacca one on camera. Oh, damn it, now someone's going to ask me to do a Chewbacca one on camera. Because I'm going to look like a goofball. My tongue's going to be hanging out my face, and it's... Anyway, you found that game yet?
Yeah, right. I'm going to read a quick description of it as well, because I haven't actually done that. I kind of just skimmed the article before this podcast started. But anyway... Star Wars Uprising will introduce a new chapter of the Star Wars universe that will illuminate dramatic events in the Anoat sector, inclusive of Hoth and Cloud City, following the Battle of Endor and the death of the Emperor. Players will learn hundreds of abilities and collect iconic Star Wars gear to create their own takes on the next generation of heroes: smuggler, bounty hunter, rebel guerrilla, diplomat, gambler, or something completely unique. Star Wars Uprising allows players to create their own unique character, go on missions, and build their gear and skills while amassing a powerful crew and cartel to join in large-scale sector-wide battles that dictate the future of the game universe. Players will also be able to engage in real-time co-op with friends against the Empire. Release date to be announced, genre RPG, publisher Kabam, developer Kabam. See, that sounds really cool, but then you got to remember it's a mobile game, so everything is going to be really small scale. And
yeah, it's like the Spider-Man game I'm playing. Like, it says, battle the Sinister Six across multiple universes and build your elite spider army. You're like, awesome! And it's just a running man game. Like,
yeah.
But the main reason I was asking was because, like, we're saying this now about the game. It's going to come out, and then, like, God knows however long, whatever podcast it's going to be, you'll be like, oh my god, it's the best game ever! Like, right now, you're like, oh, I don't know. And you're like, oh, it's kind of cool, though. It goes into the canon. And, like, eventually, as we get there, slowly, bit by bit, you're going to be like, I'm kind of looking forward to this now. I'm really looking forward to this now. Oh my god, it comes out tomorrow! It's just going to build up so much inside your head. But, it's going to be cool to see where this all goes.
So,
the last bit of news, if you're ready to move on to it,
I am.
was director James Wan is billed to direct the new Aquaman, and apparently Robotex,
yes, he
whatever
is.
that is. But yeah, again, this is a DC thing, so this is more your area of expertise than it is mine. I think literally my only area of expertise is Marvel. Like.
But, let's talk about what the facts here. So James Wan. Let's look at what he's directed before. Off the top of my head, he did his first film was Saw. You know, the film Saw, turned into like a, basically torture porn series that he had nothing to do with after that. He just basically signed over the right. He made a short film for his like university thing, and then he got a bit of a budget, made it a feature length, and it just became huge, and he just signed over the rights. I mean, the Saw 2 script was a script for a different film that they added Saw 2 and Jigsaw 2.
Oh, really?
After the success of the first one, yeah. So he really just had stuff to do with the first one, which in my opinion is the best one. It's my favourite.
Yeah.
So he did that first of all. Then he went on to do things like Insidious and The Conjuring and things like that. So very horror films. And then he took over Furious 7, so part of the Fast and Furious franchise. I don't know if I spoke about this in the podcast before, but I really love the later films in that franchise, especially 7, which was a great film. So I'm really looking forward to what he's going to do with Aquaman, because we've got here a mixed bag of horror and action. So
that's exactly what I was about to say. Like, this could go in a number of ways. 'Cause I was just thinking, like, Furious 7 and Saw, like, there are no correlations you can make between them. So he's clearly diverse in his directing abilities.
Yeah, so, absolutely. And he's still it's weird to say, but he's still a relatively new director. I mean, sure, Saw came out in 2004, I think. Maybe 2003, actually. Which is, a while ago. But then, in between then, he's, been doing bits here, bits there. And then Insidious, another one that got big, and he just signed over the franchise to the studio. And The Conjuring is... I haven't seen Insidious or The Conjuring, because I don't really like horror films, if I'm honest with you. But I've heard nothing but good things about both of those films. My main thing about horror films, just quickly, is that I just don't think there's a lot of good ones. I used to think it was just because I was, a scaredy cat or whatever. But, yeah, honestly, I just don't think there's a lot of good ones out there. So it kind of puts me off being a big film fan. I like to watch a good film. But there are the odd couple, like Sinister, that I watched. And then actually the director of that's going on to make Doctor Strange now. But, I think it's going to be interesting that we get this kind of horror and action director in there, because again, I don't know why I'm just going to tell you guys my fears. Like, my biggest fear, you probably know this, Dave, is the sea.
Yeah. No, my subs know that I fully agree with that.
The sea's not like... Telephophobia is like my thing, and the sea just scares me more than anything on this planet. Wasps and bumblebees being a close second.
Oh, really?
But yeah, terrified. But so the sea in general scares me, and I love Aquaman. So this is a weird blend. Like, Dave, you can attest to this. I defended Aquaman long before they announced those films. I love that character.
Long before like the third Batman film was even out. You defended Aquaman.
I loved Aquaman. I thought he was a great character. I think he's so underrated. Now I think everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon because he's got a badass actor playing him.
Well, I'm looking at that picture now, and it's probably the picture that's been on the screen this entire time, probably. But that was something I was going to ask you. There was two things. One, what's your thoughts on the new actor and the new look for Aquaman? And also, what route do you think the film's going to take? Obviously, bear in mind we haven't seen Suicide Squad or Batman vs Superman yet, but what direction do you think the film's going to take, and how might it fit in?
Okay, firstly, the look. So while I would love, it's going to sound like I'm taking the mick here, I promise you I'm being dead serious. So while I would love the bright orange, bright green, blonde-haired Aquaman, I'm really interested by this dark, brooding kind of Aquaman, tough, hard as nails, tribal-looking Aquaman. I think that's going to be really interesting. I think that picture speaks. I assume it's the Unite the Seven picture that we're looking at. Yeah.
Do you know what? Sorry to cut you up. Do you know what I think this look is going for, and the reason it's going to work so well?
Yeah.
Thor.
Yeah.
You have got Cap, Superman, Iron Man, Batman, Aquaman, Thor. Like, yeah. I don't mean to.
I'd actually question that, and I'd probably say Wonder Woman's going to be more your Thor.
Yeah. I'm not. That's what I was saying. I did mean to make it seem like a comparison. Like, they're just trying to. saying that like to copy it. I'm just saying based on look, you've got your different types of characters, and I was just saying like he fits this really. I don't know, like not because he's a god or anything, because not that he is, like, but he just looks like a ruler, and he looks like he's a king. If you look at him, he looks like this is my domain. Like,
Absolutely.
I think that's what. Like, I wasn't saying the fact that like he's a god or he's immortal or anything like that. I just meant in the look. Like, you look at him and he is like, no, this is my kingdom. I own this.
Yeah, unite the Seven, unite the Justice League, unite the Seven Seas. Yeah, it's going to be cool. So I think that look works really well, and that makes me excited to see, because Aquaman, if you don't know, he's half Atlantean, half human. So it makes me excited to see what these Atlanteans are going to look like. Are they going to be more bestial? Are they going to still be pretty humanoid? You know, are they just going to be huge? Because Jason Momoa is a tall guy, you know, and ripped as well. So it's going to be cool to see him clash with, you know, Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, who are both big for their roles. Because I remember Henry Cavill saying how they offered to, you know, use CGI and stuff to enhance the muscles on him, and he said, no, if I'm playing Superman, I'm going to be Superman's build. So he just works really hard for, like, you know, 6 months to get to that size, which I love. I love that kind of physical acting that people do.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen Ben Affleck lately. You see him in Gone Girl. He's just like a writer, but he's ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do really like the look. Although, would I have liked, like I said, the blonde haired? Yeah, I would have. Again, I would like a blonde Flash as well, but it doesn't look like we're getting that either in Ezra Miller. But yeah, I love it still, and I've been a fan of Jason Momoa since Stargate Atlantis. I'm a huge fan of that show, and yeah, Ronan Dex on that show was one of my favourite characters, so it's gonna be good to see. And obviously on Game of Thrones,
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo, he killed it. So yeah, looking forward to that. I can't remember what the next question was.
Obviously, it's a bit vague because there's so many unknowns in the air. But what route do you think, or would you want Aquaman to take? Like his movie, like where do you think you'd want it to go?
Okay, so we rumors. Oh no, it's not rumors at this point. Aquaman's going to be in Batman v Superman. It's probably going to be a very, very small, brief appearance. I'm wondering if they're going to go the post credits route. I don't know if they will be that tongue in cheek about it. Be interested to see whether they do or not, actually, but he's going to be in there, big or small. He's going to make an appearance.
What if? Sorry,
it's fine.
I keep interrupting you, but I was just going to say before you move on with the rest of it, because I've got a feeling you probably got a lot to say. But what if, in a sense, like with, sorry, I don't mean to keep relating it back to Marvel. I really don't mean to keep doing that. But it's just the way I can relate. Like, in the same way that Civil War, I was saying, might be in Wakanda, what if the battle between Batman and Superman at some point has some sort of damage over the sea or to the sea, whether that be oil spillages or debris?
Possibility.
What if that makes him like, who the hell are these people? What are they doing?
This film's going to have a huge impact in, I think, addressing like the mortality of heroes in general, and how what they did in what Superman did in Man of Steel wasn't okay, and essentially destroying all of Metropolis.
Yeah.
I mean, this one guy fighting this one other guy did as much damage as a whole alien invasion did in Avengers. So there's going to be repercussions for that, and there's going to be these questions of, is he a god? Do we trust him? Do we get rid of him? What do we do? They obviously don't understand that he was born and raised in America. He's as much an American as, you know, Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
But that's obviously what this film is going to be heavily addressing, I think. So could they take this to the next level and, you know, go to the ocean and mess something up with Atlantis? Because the Atlanteans' hatred for humans mainly stems from the fact that they, you know, mess up the sea all the time.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it could be addressed like that. I don't know whether they will or not. It would be interesting to see for sure. But yeah, who knows? But I think. Go on, sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to agree with what you said. I was about to say, in the gritty reality they've built up, at least, I know it's not part of their continuity, but with like the Christopher Nolan Batman and stuff like that, they've already come across of this gritty DC world. And that was something in Heroic Hollywood. It said, like, that is where DC can shine, because Marvel is never going to go this gritty dark side. So this is the one place where DC can really shine, is to do this gritty world.
That's not a good thing or a bad thing for either Marvel or DC. That's just different differences. That's just black, white, grey. It's just two different things, you know.
It's fantastic, and I think with that dark, gritty side, they can do ocean pollution, and ocean dumping, and just death to the environment and the consequences of actions. And I feel that is the perfect scenario to set that stuff up. Like,
As I will say, as long as it's subtle. That was one of my problems with Tomorrowland. For the first 2 acts, as I was saying earlier, which were good, they were subtly throwing this message at us, like, oh, you should be good to the world, and you should do this, you should do that. And then, like, the last 10 minutes of that film, they were throwing that message in your face. They might as well have just had like Hugh Laurie standing in the middle of the screen going, "Recycle, recycle."
Have Ewan McGregor suddenly pops up.
It was just so heavy-handed, and it was just bad writing, and it wasn't good. It's not gonna get any best screenplay nominations, that's for sure. But I just hope that they're smart with it, basically. But yeah, anyway, I think based on this director, I think tonally we're gonna get like a really eerie, kind of creepy view of this Atlantean world. It's gonna be terrifying. As I've said, and I'm sure now I know you do as well, you'll agree, the sea's a terrifying place. If I just showed you a picture of like 3 different fish, you'd think they're all sea monsters that are made up. Like, and that stuff just exists in the world right now. And they're just these horrible, scary monsters. And yeah, the sea's terrifying. You give me a horror director doing that, yeah, I'm behind it 100%. I get that vision, and I think it's gonna suit really, really well, and especially to this gritty universe that we talk about. But on the flip side of that, this is the guy who did Furious 7, which was like, it's the 4th highest grossing film of all time, and it's just a non-stop action-packed, you know, popcorn fest. That they drive a car out of a building into another building. You know, how many films can say that they've done something that outrageous? I want something that outrageous with superheroes as well, especially one as tough as Aquaman. People always say how we could just talk to fish and stuff like that. No, Aquaman's near bulletproof. He can jump for miles and miles and miles. He could punch and probably knock out Superman. You know, I'm ready for people to see how strong Aquaman is, and I think with James Wan we can see the scary side of Atlanteans and how scary they can be, potentially building up a kind of Throne of Atlantis style storyline. For those that don't know, that's a comic arc in DC. So they can build that up and make that seem scary and sinister and gritty, as we keep coming back to. And we can get that outrageous Avengers level action film as well from James Wan. So yeah, I'm definitely ready for that.
Do you know what, as you've been saying that, I've had 2 like scenes play in my head, like, of what this could look like as you were setting the scene, and one of them in particular, thinking about this scene that I've just made up in my mind after hearing what you described, it gave me goosebumps thinking about it. The first one, not so much, but I'll say this first just to sort of help build up the mood. But one of them is like maybe like a small vessel in the ocean, maybe like right at the start of the film, like way at the start, at night. Just like, you know, we just got the moonlight rippling off the water.
Yeah.
And basically the Atlanteans take them down because they're like ocean dumping or whatever. And the Atlanteans crawl up on the boat.
Just real quick, just to help you out. What about the oil rig that we saw on fire in Man of Steel?
Yes, all that too. And basically the Atlanteans like crawl onto the boat and basically take them down and destroy the whole vessel. In a sense, kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean with like Davy Jones and his men.
Yeah.
You know that sort of vibe they gave off where they just sort of like crawled up the boat. Sort of like that, and literally they destroy the boat and it's just gone, like it was never there. Like they just take the whole thing down. The other one, and this one like really sort of gave me goosebumps just thinking about it, was imagine like a beach. You know, like the beaches that have like the fairground right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. There's all this happy, all this laughter, all these kids, and it's all light. And then on the beach itself, it's dark, and again, all you can see is just the moonlight rippling on the water. And like, for whatever reason, the Atlanteans are attacking, like, or they're just coming to the shore, or whatever. And there could be a couple, or there could just be some people drinking, having a laugh, or throwing some stuff into the water. Might be best, like some cans of Coke and stuff like that. And they're looking along, and one guy sort of just stops, like he thinks he sees something, and he's just looking out on the water, and all you see is this white light just rippling off. And then at one point, he sees a man just standing in the water, and he's like, what? And then out of nowhere, just like 100 of them all just stand up right on the shoreline where they've been under the water the whole time. And like, they've just got bits of seaweed dripping off them, like all holding a staff and slowly just start walking on. Like it's just like in the vision of how I've got it in my head.
How
Like,
scary could that be?
Like ants. Like you see one, then suddenly there's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Like that, and it's like literally right up on the shore. Like they got to the very, very edge of the beach without you ever even realizing, because
think about that shot by someone who knows horror so well.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking of him throwing stuff out, and then maybe one of the cans landing back by his feet, and he's looking out like, can I see something? Like, he thinks he sees something, and then he sees one. He's like, hold up, there's a man there, and then suddenly he looks round, and all of them are stood up, and you're like, where the hell did they all come from? Like, and they were there the whole time. Like, I just think that I can imagine it really, especially if it's really dark and just the white light of the moon, and like seaweed maybe hanging off them or whatever. Like, I imagine it being creepy as all hell. I bet, and especially this guy, like, leading the charge. Like, how scary would that be? It would be so cool.
Yeah, I'm so that this director announcement. Sometimes these director announcements can make me just go, oh yeah, that makes sense, whatever. Yeah. And sometimes they can make me go, oh no, not Josh Trank, that sort of thing. Whereas, actually, I quite like Josh Trank. It would be more actually, not Bryan Singer. But,
oh god.
But we almost got through a whole podcast about me mentioning him or Phantom Force.
No! I just thought it. I thought, will we do it? Or have we just opened the can of worms? Damn it, Phantom Force.
I'll jump straight on it and straight back off. Anyway, so it can make me, or it could do what this one's done and make me now be 10 times more excited for a film that I was already so excited for. I didn't think I could be any more excited. So yeah, this is nothing but great news from me personally. And how is it from you then? How are you perceiving this whole thing as someone who's not necessarily a James Wan fan or an Aquaman fan, but now you've heard this bit of insight from me?
Well, do you know what? Before, I was just like, Aquaman, DC, I'm curious to see how this is going to go. I'm not going to like it as much as the Avengers, but I'm still going to like it and enjoy it. Now, like, thinking that as long as, like, every DC film did it along this really gritty, dark, real-life kind of look, not in the, we're superheroes, we saved you, end of the day, yay. Like, we saved you, but now I'm getting boned up the arse by taxes, and, like this really real-world consequences outcome that DC seems to be doing. I am so pumped now. Like, I'm imagining Wonder Woman and Aquaman, like, being really big, imposing characters, standing next to Batman in, like, his armor. And I was not excited, really. I was gonna watch them, but I wasn't exactly counting down the days. Now, like, just us talking about Aquaman. Bear in mind, there is nothing to prove it's gonna be like we've just said. But imagine it the way we've just imagined it. I'm thinking, like, I'm really looking forward to it now. Like, if they made, like, Aquaman out to be, like, this really, like, overbearing, scary kind of godlike character, but from the sea. Like, if you look at his hair in this picture as well, it looks like it's some really old, ancient, like, seaweed. Like, it looks like it's grown beneath the sea. Like, it just, I don't know, now I'm really looking forward to it. Have we spoken about this? However, we could also just be a Saw remake, and the Aquaman is in a car which crashes in the water from a building into another building, and then he has to cut his foot off to get out. Like, we don't know, it could go that way. So, but I don't know, like, just from us talking about it, yeah, I'm now really pumped. Like, before I was like, meh.
There is something I just want to talk about that would actually probably back up our theory of what this film could be. And I just want to talk about Marvel real quick and what we was talking about earlier with Kevin Feige kind of running the show. And Marvel's not, DC's not going to be run like that. It's not going to have this one guy who kind of, this one producer, this one studio guy who kind of dictates what Marvel's going to be. And don't get me wrong, that has worked. I have loved the Marvel films for the most part. They have been brilliant, and I have loved the way it's been run. I'm interested to see the way DC does do it, because what they're going to do is that Warner Brothers are going to trust each artist more on an individual basis. So where we have things like Edgar Wright comes in to make Ant-Man, and he has his vision, he wants to get this film made this one particular way, Kevin Feige may have a different vision and has the ultimate say, and that leads to Edgar Wright then no longer working on the project. With DC, it's the opposite. Warner Brothers take these artists on because they want them to make their films, and while that could mean these films have a less coherent tone, I think that's not going to be a problem for them, because the marketing's going to be different. This is going to be more for your people in the late 20s, 30s, 40s, that kind of people. Whereas the Marvel films are more for like 15, well, probably 11 to 30. I'm just generalising here, but when you've got that coherent tone between films, you can go into every Marvel film and expect the same kind of thing. Obviously, Guardians of the Galaxy is different to Thor, but you know what I mean. There's still a coherent tone that you can see, sewn through each of these films. Whereas with DC and Warner Brothers, with it being left to these artists individually, we're going to see a lot more stark differences between them. Obviously, we won't see that until Suicide Squad, because actually, there's something else I want to segue to after that. But because obviously Man of Steel and Batman v Superman are both the same director, whereas Suicide Squad's going to be the first one with a different director, so I'm interested to see that again, that different style, and then that way we may be getting a more James Wan vision for Aquaman, because it's going to be left to his vision, his style.
Yeah,
interesting.
That's things that I don't have much to say after that, because I fully agree with everything you just said. Like, there's not much I can really debate back with that. I think the best way to describe it is it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because, and I just want to really clarify, because I don't want people to think that you're the Marvel guy, I'm the DC guy, and there's a split in the middle there. It's not that way at all. Marvel do it their way. I love the way Marvel do it. I love the Marvel films. DC do it their way. We don't know if it's going to work yet. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. I'm ready to see it. I'm not saying one way is better than the other. I just think they're different, and I think that's going to work in our benefit as fans.
Yeah, and I think that's perfect. Like, DC, you're doing like this gritty, down-to-earth kind of real-world way. And if Marvel was suddenly to do that now, it would not work. It would really, like, if you had Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Guardians, whatever, and then suddenly Captain America was done like Batman, it would not work. It would be like a completely different universe. It'd make no sense. Like, Daredevil only really gets away with that because it's Netflix and it's not a movie, it's a TV series, so it just works for its own reasons. However, if DC were then to come up with a really light-hearted kind of comical film, that would also break their universe just as much. So that's what's great, because I would hate to have two universes both being gritty or both being light-hearted. I love this, because now we're getting best of both. We're getting a nice universe of the sort of more comical but serious at the same time, and then we're also getting another universe of awesome comic book characters in this really real-world, serious tone. It's awesome. That means we get the best of both. So
yeah. And one last quick segue, I think, before we end this week's podcast. I spoke briefly about Suicide Squad and David Ayer there. This week he made a tweet basically saying that the Suicide Squad had stopped shooting the outside stuff now, and that their secrets were all still intact, basically, and that we hadn't seen anything yet, and that the set leaks weren't that bad, because obviously, as we've probably been talking about the last few weeks, it's probably been a different set leak every week, and then my anger about that. We've seen plenty. I'm sorry, you can't say your secret's still intact. I know Batman's going to be in the film. Did I know that 2-3 weeks ago? No. Could I have speculated that? Yeah, but it would have been a really weak, unfounded, bit of rumour and speculation. If you said that, Batman might be in Suicide Squad, I might have been like, oh, maybe, but I doubt it, and that would have been it. Now I know he's in it, the Batmobile's in it, and I know he's going to be sitting on Joker's car. I know that because of set leaks. I don't care what you say, David Ayer. Part of your film has been spoiled because of your bad production, set management, whatever you want to call it.
I love it when you get on these rants.
I'm glad you do. I hope the fans do. So I hope they don't just go, oh, shut up.
Well, it's saying that I had one on par last week when it came to
your teen heartthrobs.
So it swings and roundabouts. It comes and goes for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. No, it's like I don't think it's been spoiled as in like it's not like we know the major plot. But there was one thing that was leaked. I have no idea where it is, so I won't be able to put a link to it. But it was something I remember seeing. It could have just been a dream for all I know. And I stopped reading it because I was like, man, this is actually giving away literally shot by shot of what's happening.
Ugh.
And hell, if actually no, I was gonna say if these leaks didn't come out, we wouldn't have known that Killer Croc looks like Electro on steroids. But then saying that, he was already in the set photo, weren't he? So
set leaks happen, and I do understand that. But it's his comments more than anything. It just seems a bit. It seems a bit like he's seen all this backlash from all the set leaks. He's just gone, oh, what do I do? Oh no, I'll just make some snarky, like almost bragging kind of thing. Like, oh, you haven't seen anything yet. Just be like, oh, okay. We had some problems there, you saw some stuff, but we still got plenty in store for you. If you said something like that, I would have been fine with it. Because the way he was like, you haven't seen any, there's still plenty in store. We've got loads of secrets. You haven't seen anything. Yeah, I have. I've seen Batman. Batman is in your film. That's huge to me. Is that not big to you? Do you not think?
Yeah, well, especially since how he wasn't at all said he was ever going to be in the film, and they were clearly trying to keep it a secret.
Yeah.
The fact that Ben Affleck was under that blanket the entire time.
Right. Imagine.
Which just reminds me of the College Humor Batman thing.
Imagine they didn't announce. Yeah. Imagine they didn't announce that Captain America 3 was called Civil War. It was just going to be called Captain America 3. And imagine they didn't announce Iron Man was going to be in it. Robert Downey Jr. was going to be in it. And then there was a set leak of Robert Downey Jr. on set in Iron Man suit on the back of Captain America's, I don't know, motorbike or whatever.
But on his back, he just didn't realise.
Yeah, no, imagine if you saw that. That would have been like, whoa, that's huge.
Yeah, I get that. That would have been it's a huge drop.
And then imagine if the Russos come out and go, oh, no, we've got secrets that you don't know about, and, you know, we haven't leaked anything, it's all fine. You know, you'd be like, oh, shut up.
I get what you're saying, and at the same time, I also see like the other side, like playing devil's advocate. At one point, I'd be like, well, no, you have dropped major spoilers. Like they didn't do it on purpose. Bear in mind, like obviously people have leaked it. It wasn't them going drop this. Oh no, it's been dropped. Like as far as we know, anyway. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. Like I think he was just trying to say, like, trust me, the entire, like, what you've seen is but a fraction of our film. But I get what you're saying. Like, the way they said it was really cocky and arrogant. Yeah. Like, no, all right, mate. Look, lick your wounds. Don't just act like they're not there. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. But anyway, with that being said, Duns, is there anything else you wanted to mention? This has been a long one.
Yeah, it has. It's been a good one, though. I've enjoyed this one. As I said, I was in a good mood today.
Yeah, I think we both were, and it helped. There was a lot of awesome stuff to talk about as well. But this has been a long one. So, is there anything else? Anything you want to mention? Anything that you're going to be doing in the next week or so that you may want to?
I'll just throw my usual plugs out there. We've got Schmotunes will be coming soon. I'm not too sure when yet. Episode 2 of Favourite Film Ever of All Times on iTunes now. Episode 3
is it up?
will be coming very soon. Yeah, it's up.
Cool. I'll link to the new one.
Yeah, I spoke about Dread in this one actually, so that was a bit of fun. It was a bit of an unexpected film, but yeah, it'd be good. I'd have to. I keep saying it. I'll get you on there soon, Dave.
Yeah, man. Same whenever.
Other than that, you can check out this awesome podcast I do on a YouTube channel called TheCaptainofDave, and it's called Segue City. Oh, just plug.
Oh, a link in the link in the link. It's a Segwayception. I'll just link to that exact time frame as well. Segue. Yeah, but yeah, sorry, I had a little bit of a brain moment then. But yeah, so yeah, all the links to all the Tommy stuff down below. Obviously the Shmono stuff.
And Twitter, Miss TT Green. You can always ask me anything there, and you can always moan at me about my rants, or you can argue in favour of Fant Forstick if you dare.
Yeah, no, seriously, he's daring you. Do it. I in fact double dare you. Go ask him some questions on Twitter. But yeah, you got his Twitter, Shmono stuff. I've also got your podcast. I will link to the newest one on iTunes. And with me, I can only. I know you guys always tell me not to apologise, but yes, there have been no videos, and I suck. I can only. Hey, what can I say? Stuff come up. It's my brain sucks. More than I'd care to admit, but sometimes I have all the will in the world to make videos and it's just not plausible. And then you get other times like recently where I recorded Skyrim and the audio was just not there for my microphone. Hour and a half wasted. So, but no, trust me, it'll be coming back as soon as I can. It's just the Dave luck, as you guys have come to know. But Skyrim, Walking Dead, that stuff will come back hopefully very, very soon. Just busy and tiring period. But yeah, enough of excuses. Nobody likes to hear all that sort of stuff. So yeah, so just a quick reminder of your Segue segment that we will be answering at the start of next week's podcast, and we want you guys to answer too, because we love always to hear your thoughts on it. So we are trying to get from, one last time saying this, Matthew McConaughey.
Hey!
That wasn't that bad. Yeah, Matthew McConaughey and Martin Freeman. Try and do it in a 6 steps or less. And that's 6 steps in between them two. So not including them, you got 6 steps. And we need actors' names and the movies they've been in. They count as 2 separate steps. So yeah, Matthew McConaughey and Martin Freeman. Can you do it in 6 steps or left? I bet you already have. I was surprised you didn't do it right at the very start.
I've already done it.
Yeah, but leave your answers, your thoughts. If you want to play along, leave your answers in the comment section below, or just anything else that you want to speak to us about, because Tommy was very vocal last week answering the comments. We both like reading through your comments. So anything you want to talk about, get involved with the Segue segment, and the start of next week we'll be answering it ourselves, and whatever one was our favourite out of you guys. So, yeah. So any last mentions, Tommy? Anything at all?
No, nothing from me.
Okay, well that being said, my name's Dave.
And I'm Tommy.
And we'll catch you guys later.